Welcome back to another weekend of BSL. I am Nyokin, and joining with me is, of course, the one and only, the Big Jip. And today we're going to be doing Race Wars, just like we did last week. Last week we had two killers, DeWalt and Zeke. And this week we have Zeke back for some more domination, but no DeWalt, but he's been replaced with Bonneth. So who do you like here, Mihai? You think that Zeke's going to dominate again? Is it going to be Bonneth? Or is it going to be someone from the Terran squad to take it this time?
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Good morning. First of all, good afternoon. I guess most of our viewers are going to be in the European zone, right? But I woke up not too long ago, had my morning coffee, so you can kind of see even my hair is like all over the place. But it is what it is. We press on, and yeah, I mean this lineup today. Honestly, I'm way more excited than the lineup yesterday, last week, because we already have way more players, and like I was complaining about how we didn't have a variety of players because DeWalt was just smashing everyone. Obviously, Bonneth looks extremely strong. I was really impressed with his game yesterday in the what was it, the show match series against Snow's Korean team. He played really well despite having narrowly lost that game. So I would expect Bonneth to put out some good results today. I'm excited to see, obviously, Siki, True Touch, Oya, Favorite. Oya is, a strong player himself, has been streaming a lot. True Touch, Siki, kind of established. I'm excited, though, because Striker's playing today. And we've seen him play in the BSL tournament last week, right? It was last week?
I'm not too sure if he played in it last week, but I know he played versus you in a recent show match. And I know Striker's been doing well for
Yeah.
himself lately. I've talked about him a few times in previous casts, how he was kind of, so-so like a year ago. But now after working on his game in the past year, he's really upped it quite a bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, he should be a kind of a sleeper here to do well for the
I
team.
I think he's actually really good. Especially when I've seen his ZVP, and you compare it to other foreigners' ZVP, his builds are nuts. Like his macros nuts. He has like higher supply than everyone playing right now. So I'm excited for that. And then on the Terran team, we didn't see Krog played last week, right?
Yes, he
Um,
did play, but the other two are
yeah,
newcomers.
Care and Vadi. I know Care, I've hit him a couple times on the ladder. He's playing under barcode, so he's been grinding and definitely a solid Terran. And Vadi as well. I've played him quite a bit on the ladder, and he's also a really strong Terran. I know Care we've actually seen in previous BSLs. So, but Vadi, have we actually seen him play in any BSL before?
Yeah, I'm actually not aware of Vadi. I've seen the ID, but being in Korea, I don't hit foreigners
Yeah,
ever anymore.
yeah.
So I'm not too sure of his game. Care is good. He's played in previous BSLs. I think I actually like him the most in TVT. So it's a bit
Mm.
unfortunate here that this is not going to be TVT at all. But
Yeah.
our first matchup is actually going to be Care going up against the great one here in True Touch. True Touch yesterday did really well, but kind of got eliminated versus Snow in the foreign all-star versus Pastas match. And then he made it to the finals of the ladder tournament yesterday for BSL. And you know who took that tournament yesterday, Gypsy? It was
The Walt.
DeWalt. DeWalt just ran everybody over yesterday. Everybody in that he played yesterday, he killed. In the foreigner all-star match, he wanted a rematch because it kind of went unfortunately for the Terran player, and then
Yeah.
he just smashed him again. So DeWalt is killing it. We'll see if he can have a repeat of or he can't have a repeat of last week, but we'll see if Zeke can have a repeat of last week. So with that said, let's see if we can get into game number one, True Touch versus Care on Polypoid. Oh, we are already into it. So Care, we do have in the bottom left, and in the top right, we have our Polish Zerg in True Touch.
Yeah,
So
I don't know, dude. Have you seen? So you were saying Care has like a pretty decent TVT, but have you seen his TVZ at all?
So it's been a while since I've seen Care play. I think he actually was inactive for a while. So this will be the first time I've seen him play in several months. So I'm actually not up to date with his current style at all or how well he's been performing. You said you've played him on the ladder. Now you're a Terran just like me. So we have the
Yeah,
same experience that his TVT is pretty good, but I don't know
yeah.
about his TVZ.
Yeah, well, anyway, I mean, it's going to be a pretty tough match here against True Touch. True Touch, obviously, one of the most established foreigner Zergs. Though I haven't, to be honest, right, like, you don't really see many of these Zergs' ZVT very often, right? Like, there's so many Protosses, so many Zergs in the scene. Everyone's really good in those two matchups, whether, you're talking about a Protoss playing PvP, PvZ, or you're talking about a Zerg playing ZVP, ZVZ. They're both, they're all pretty good at those matchups because they have to play it the most. But every time when, we get to see some Terran action, it's kind of, at least for me, it's a bit, a bit of a question mark over how do people play this matchup. And because I don't get to see them play that much. So I'm really excited actually because, like I said, I feel like we have a really good Terran lineup today. Actually, I'm personally excited to watch them play as a Terran player myself. And so far we can see that they're both playing pretty standard, though True Touch going for the 12 hatch, Care going for the 11 rack. So, but yeah, Polypoid, how do you feel about this map in TVZ? I mean, I think overall it's okay, but
I mean, I like this map. I think this is a fine map. There's nothing about it that makes me want to veto it. Whereas even maps that are good for Terran, like Sylphid, everybody likes Sylphid, but
yeah,
there are certain aspects about Sylphid that I don't like the natural layout, having to deal with mutas at bottom right or top right are
yeah,
very difficult. But I don't have that issue on a map like Polypoid. So for me, this is one of the maps that I really like, and there's a couple positions that you can wall off, like bottom right. So you have
yeah,
that going for you too. Now, Kara's bottom left, so that's not something that we're going to see this game. But I like that that is part of the map.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Reap
yeah,
the Storm is another map where you can wall off basically every single position. But we have
yeah.
True Touch here going for two hatch play. It is really trendy for the past few months. We've been seeing more three hatch play. We even saw it yesterday when Ziki played in the Foreign All Star tournament, where he ended up going for three hatch. So good scout from Kara sees that it is standard two hatch play. Now, what do you think True Touch's follow up is going to be? Are we going to see third hatch coming down quickly? Is it going to be mass muta, lurkers? What do you find to be the best follow up for Zerg?
I mean, I think first of all, this map is pretty good for ZVT. If I were a Zerg player, I would be comfortable playing on this map because you have a lot of base options to take. There's a lot of high grounds to work with in terms of using ramps to defend your with lurkers and stuff. Usually, you see a lot of Zerg players here take not another main as an expansion when they two hatch, but they take one of those third bases or whatever the third gas type bases because the proximity and also they have ramps and they're high ground. But this map also just allows for a lot of muleless harass in terms of, there's a lot of ledges throughout the map, so it's easy to kind of pick off Marines as they push out across the map. There's the ramps and everything. So, I mean, as to your question, Nikan, I don't know exactly what we're gonna see from True Touch. I'm just gonna assume that it's gonna be a standard two hatchery spire. We can see he doesn't have any fast third hatchery type play like a 2.5 hatch. So I think we're going to be seeing some pretty standard stuff from him. Now, Care, interestingly, he goes for this two racks variation against two hatch, which is probably the most standard way to play, two racks into Academy. But on cross positions, it's a bit harder to leverage sort of that early unit count because you can't just go and force the Zerg to make sunks as easily. So I would have liked to see maybe more of an eBay style from Care. But, I mean, obviously this is totally fine. As the Academy finishes, he's going to get stim going and range going. But yeah, True Touch putting down his third.
Yeah, so third base going down for top for True Touch at top middle, as you were saying, and it's a fast third hatch. This is something that
Yeah,
more Zergs are doing these days. It used to be in the past where Zergs felt like they couldn't put down a hatch before they get their Mutalisk out. Well, that's not the case now because this hatch is going to be nearly done once Mutalisk pop out, and that's going to be a base that's going to be up and running very quickly for True Touch. As you were saying, Care went for the standard of standard 4-minute Academy. He's going into three racks now. I can see it on the bottom of the map. This is what you do if you
yeah,
just want to have a solid build versus two hatch play. And as you were saying about Polypoid, even though it looks quite open and easy to deal with mutas, it's kind of deceiving, just like how Gladiator is.
yeah,
There's really not a lot of stuff in the middle of the map of Gladiator, but with those little ledges, those little tiny pieces of high ground,
Yeah.
Mutas can just swoop in and out of vision, and all of a sudden they can actually kill a bunch of units for free. So Care does need to be very careful. He can't just move across the map and think, oh well, I'm out in the open field. No, he's actually probably up against the wall pretty closely where he could get a few units picked off. But instead, he is just going to sit in his main. Now, this is a pretty smart move, as you were saying. It's going to be hard to put pressure, so I like that he's just going to stay back, but that is going to give True Touch the free base at top middle.
Yeah, and this natural expansion is really hard to defend this Terran. I mean, there's a ledge right over the minerals, so if Zerg wants to kill some SCVs, there's always the option, but it looks like True Touch taking his time to sort of mass up the Mutalisk count. So usually you see Zergs, even though they go for 2-hatch Spire, they actually don't go straight into pulling a lot of larva and make more drones to get their economy rolling. So True Touch is actually going to have a really nice economy behind this, and this is what 2-hatch is really good at. You can see these mutas are really just there to keep the Terran back as the Zerg just expands behind it. So, and you can see already he has the 3rd gas going, his main saturation is good, already gets the Queen's Nest and the Hydrogen. So this really is, I mean, we haven't really spoken about whatever the meta and stuff, and you know, it used to be the case that people did 2-hatch Mutalisks to be really aggressive and 3-hatch to just play kind of macro games. But this is how 2-hatch has evolved to be the new standard in this matchup. As you know, True Touch running in here, killing some SCVs. This is really good micro from him, and he finds the sort of weak spot in the Terran defense. Just kind of picks off a couple SCVs, loses 1 Mutalisk though. That wasn't bad for either player, honestly. Care didn't take too much damage, pushed the mutas away, got some damage onto him. But yeah, I mean, this is totally kind of textbook ZVT from True Touch. As he goes up to 11 Mutalisks, obviously you want to build up your control group of mutas so you can actually start killing Marines. And look at that droning, man. I mean, it's True Touch is playing really well, going straight into Hive. Probably going to have his 4th hatchery soon. And, you know, Care has a starport, so both players playing really well right now.
Well, Care's moving out, and this is, I think, 15 Mutalisk, has 4 synced up with the other 11. But because Care didn't move out earlier, and because he hasn't actually lost any units, this is a really strong army. If he comes from the backside of that top middle base, he might actually just bust it. But as I was saying, you got to be careful, even though you're out in the open field. Sometimes you're just over an area that mutas can swoop in, just like that. Those 6 Marines were unsynced with the rest of the army, so those are free kills for True Touch. Now that there's 2 more free kills, and the mutas just swoop in over the high ground. Now this bio ball, it's still decently big, maybe about 2 groups, but it's not that 2.5 to 3 groups where you're really thinking that you're going to get a lot of damage done. There goes another unit, and I think True Touch just holds this off. Their sunken should be up.
Oh.
He does lose a few mutas, but he picks off some more Marines, so this is fine.
Yeah, it was kind of suspect for a second, but yeah, he's delaying this push. The lurkers still aren't out, and there's only 2 sunkens though, so there's still a tiny timing here. Maybe Care can use to bust through these sunkens, but okay, you know, True Touch kind of delaying the push long enough, and finally the lurkers are out. And this is really where it kind of gets. Oh God, he's gonna lose so many Mutalisks. I mean, it doesn't matter that much right now anymore in terms of True Touch surviving this, though I'm not sure if he has the lurker count at his 3rd that he has at his natural, so perhaps his 3rd is going to be a bit more vulnerable. And you can see the fact that he lost those Mutalisks, it's going to be a bit harder for him to sort of pick off the Terran reinforcements. But I mean, so far, as Care goes into that tank, which is across the map, yeah, you can't bust this. But yeah, the Filer Mound's down already, and this is kind of where it gets really hard for Terran to play this matchup, because, you know, the Filers are about to come out, Dark Swarm's about to come out, and we can't really bust the Zerg anymore. And this is really annoying. Once the Zerg gets a bunch of lurkers for defense, they, you know, their Mutalisks are freed up for just harassment opportunities, right? And you can see True Touch kind of maximizing these Mutalisks as an irradiate comes down. Really nicely timed, actually. He's going to lose all these Mutalisks to this one irradiate if he doesn't separate it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He just killed the entire SCV line. There's 6 left mining minerals, so he basically put Care on a clock to end the game. Otherwise, he's just going to get straight up out macroed. Now, Care it seems like he had no idea about top middle because now he's moving there, but that's too late. There's two lurkers in position. There's a sunken in position. Care really nailed his build, but so did True Touch. And the hardest part about playing versus Two Hatch is it's hard to evaluate. Are they all inning you with mutas? Are they just playing a normal game? And if they are all inning you and you under respect the potential all in, you get wiped out. But if you over respect the all in and then it never comes, then you're way behind. So here's an example: is he nailed his build, but True Touch nailed his, and he has these tanks, which in theory are pretty good. But now that defilers are out, what can they do? That delays, barracks coming in, delays command center. There's going to be almost no usage for these tanks. So I think actually Care, as soon as he sieges, maybe just let True Touch know, like, hey man, I got tanks, but he needs to back
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, we saw the Defiler already eating a couple lings there, so consume is already done. But Carrie's gonna have this one dropship to rule them all. Is this dropship gonna do the damage that he needs it to do to get back into this game? I mean, True Touch spotted it, and there's already like 5 lurkers in his base, and I think his other base is all.
I love this move. He drew the lurkers out of the position at the national. Look how he instantly busts there. There's only one, and the defiler is gone. So he can easily wipe out the lurker. He can easily wipe out the Nidus, and this might be a compromised base.
Yeah, huge misstep from True Touch. Just moved all his.
He's gonna get the defiler.
He killed the defiler. So actually, Care's gonna bust through here, and True Touch is natural. True Touch, frantically trying to bring lurkers back to the defense, but already he lost his natural, dude. I mean, he overcommitted so hard on the defense of that one dropship and lost his natural for it. And suddenly, we were talking about how Care's in this precarious position economically, and he's still picking off lurkers, the Dark Storm flank from behind. But now True Touch, I mean, how does he salvage this game?
Yeah, luckily there's a defiler coming from the back. These Marines have +1 armor, so if they want to try and engage the lurkers on the high ground, they actually can tank 2 shots as long as they're healed up. But the Nat gets wiped out, the Defiler Mound gets wiped out. 3 lurkers are up on the ramp for True Touch, so he's going to survive for now. Nidus is going back up, but that's a lot of lost econ for True Touch. Look at supply. He supply block 2 down to 58 out of 52. Now, I did notice that he's floating a lot of gas, so he plops down an Ultralisk Cavern, and he luckily has been upgrading his armor. So he will have decently upgraded Ultras once they pop out, and now this entire army is going to get wiped. But the third base is open, and the Nidus isn't up just yet.
Yeah, he just stims right through that ramp, instantly kills that Nidus Canal, then kills the Sunken. I like how he's still making tanks, sieges up the tank and everything. And yeah, I feel like True Touch just completely decimated by that one dropship. You don't see that often. It's so hard at this point for Zerg to do anything. I mean, he lost his natural economy, now he's going to lose his third economy. And behind that, you can see Terran is taking this third, probably scaling up in his production. So, I mean, it's really...
Look at the drones walling off the lurkers. They can't even get up.
Yeah, the drones are on strike, man. They lost their hatchery. They can't really work anymore. And so if they can't work, neither can the Zerg units. But the Care totally saturated at his third and just adding more racks here. And I mean, yeah.
Wow.
Wow, impressive victory from Care.
Care literally had a very slim window of opportunity there, and he used it perfectly. And what I liked about his drop is when he went for the drop, he moved his units like it was going to the third base, and True Touch knew he already had defense up there. But then as the drop got in and he saw the lurkers coming back, he instantly stemmed to the Nat because he knew everything moved out of position. So True Touch, I guess, thought he was going to be safe because everything was going to third base, but no, Care hitting at a really slick timing, and all of a sudden, Team Zerg got real gutted because you can argue that True Touch is the best one on their entire team. Now, Zeke and Striker are, of course, very good, but True Touch is somebody that's made BSL finals multiple times, won BSL multiple times. That's a huge loss for him. And Care, who I really thought was a TVT type of player, TVZ all of a sudden looks really good. Now, I wonder who Team Protoss is going to send at him now. I actually want to see Oya, because Oya last season of BSL, before that season happened, my impression of Oya was he was pretty aggressive. Like the first game I played versus Oya ever, like he asked to play a game, then we played and he 7-gated me. I was like, oh, so this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Somebody that's mega aggro. But then in BSL, he actually played really standard, but then he pulled out that like proxy gate, but it looked like he was expanding. So he's really sneaky. So I would actually like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see
yeah.
Oya come out here.
Yeah, man. Oya has a strong PVT. I mean, all these Protoss players are actually. I mean, okay, let's. There's the elephant in the room, and it's that Bonnet is obviously on another level. I feel like than the other two players. But that being said, Oya and Favorite, both really strong Protoss players in their own right. Oya, I think, up and coming, kind of still on the young side, so he has a lot of time to kind of build his skill up, and he's really impressive just in overall. So definitely an up and comer. Um, by the way, I was reading the Twitch chat real quick, and people were saying that it's not care, it's Kare.
Yeah, I
So
think I've heard it's Kare also, but
okay, so I mean, I didn't want to like switch in the middle of the of the cast, right? Because people would be like, "Who are you talking about?" So we can call him Kare from now on. But yeah, Kare played really well that game. Actually, his TVZ was impressive. I think True Touch kind of you usually don't see Zergs get blasted by one drop like that. So I think True Touch showing a bit of weakness in ZVT for sure because he had a very stable position. And if he just defended very calmly, that was just one drop, Nyokin. And I don't even think that drop had a medic in it. It was just literally like 8 Marines. So, as soon as the 8 Marines just stim, they like have half their health missing. And then you can kind of clean it up easily. But he overreacted to the drop and Kari just completely smashed them. But yeah, um, it looks like, I think we're gonna start the game soon though. I'm not too sure which pro. It's actually going to be Oya versus Kare, so we're gonna get the dream matchup here.
yeah, so we're gonna get the matchup that I was looking for, and our map is gonna be Benzene. It is back into BSL. I think it's actually back into ASL too because I've been seeing quite a few games on stream of players like Light and Bisu playing it. So I personally really like this map when it was in BSL. When I did my BSL Chobo League run,
Mm.
it was in the map pool, and I had good success on it. I thought it was a map that was pretty okay for Terran. There's a lot of proxy positions, which makes it kind of dangerous, especially versus someone like Oya. And
Yeah,
as we
what's this,
see,
Nayakin?
yeah, the probe is going out, but it's a bit late, so I don't think that this is for proxy gate. This is just going to be a gas steal. But with multiple two-player maps in the map pool right now, like Eclipse, Match Point, Kare has been gas stolen
Yeah,
often. So I
yeah.
don't think this is actually going to mess him up. Well, as I say that, is this going to be a forward gate?
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a forward gate Nayakin. I mean, the timing on this is a bit weird, but as the pylon goes down, I was gonna say I'm not really a fan of the gas steal before your gateway as a Protoss. You see, I mean, I feel like that's what the timing would have been. But when you gas steal, I think if you gas steal too early, I mean, it doesn't even matter because he's not even gas stealing, but I will say it anyway. It's just not that good. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So
Well,
Oya actually going for the gate, and I mean, this is annoying to deal with. Obviously, is Terran, but if Kari has good micro, he can just stop this.
yeah, so this, looks like Kari is going to cut his 12th SCV to make sure he gets his gas up. Now,
Yeah,
it's
that's really nice.
not a big deal for Terran to cut here to get this up. It's going to get his factory up maybe like 5 seconds faster. It's not anything major, but it is going to at least prevent him from getting stolen, and he's not going to feel obligated to go gasless, because if he goes gasless into this, it's almost a free win
Yeah,
for Oya. Now look at this probe micro. Already, it's going to die. It's down to 2 shots. It's gone. It's gone. See ya, SCV. So that's a kill for Oya, and that's painful since we know that he just cut at 11 to get his gas.
Oh,
And now this Rax isn't building, and I have a feeling that I'm about to see a dot walking across from the map pretty soon.
yeah, that one pixel is gonna come and wreck the Terran's base, man. The thing is, this probe is doing so much damage. Killed one
He's gonna
SCV
get
already.
another one.
No,
It's
if he
at
gets this
30.
SCV, I wouldn't be surprised if Kari just leaves the game. That's so tilting. And this probe is still being really annoying. Not only did it get him one SCV, but it also like completely delayed this Rax because one SCV stopped building it, and now it's annoying the factory SCV. So probes, I mean, Jesus, they're just insanely overpowered. But the one pixel coming across the map, this big, tall, buff zealot Chadlot about to smack some Terran faces. But the thing is, look at Akari's base. He has really nice Sim City here, the racks, the command center, and the depot. So he has a lot of room to micro these Marines with. And you can see already very nice micro from Kare. Takes some damage on the SCVs, but hasn't lost one SCV just yet. Meanwhile, put on a lot of damage onto the Zealot and has more Marines coming behind this. So he really cannot afford to lose a Marine though. And he's going to lose both. Okay, he lost only one Marine. That probe almost killed the second Marine. And here comes the two Zealots against one Marine though. That's not ideal. The factory finishes, however. So he's going to have a Vulture soon. He can't lose too many Zealot or too many SCVs.
Yeah, but his Vulture's going to pop pretty quickly, and this is actually a third Zealot coming across. This is not a Goon. If this was a Goon, I think Kare's in big time trouble. But because it's a Zealot, and because the Goon is delayed even longer, I think he's still okay. Now, of course, this is still going to be very hard to micro, but Zealot's much easier to kill than Goons, obviously, when you only have a Vulture and 2 Marines. He wipes out 2 Zealots pretty easily. Zealot got another kill, so in total, it seems like maybe like 4 SCVs went down. He's killed a lot of Marines, though. So one Goon, once it gets out, can actually shut down a lot of this Terran army. But I think now Kare's going to stabilize. And behind this, Oya is doing what Protoss really should do, is put down a second gate. You do not want Vultures to run by and get into your main. Now look at that block. Gets off a couple free hits on the Vulture, but that's 2 Vultures running across the map, and the gateway's not done yet.
Yeah, those Vultures are going to get there way before any Dragoon pops out from that gateway, though. Still, the rush distance on this map is pretty significant, so still some time for the Dragoon to pop out, but he needs to somehow prevent...
He's broke?
Yeah, I know, it's going to be so hard. He's going to get this pylon wall off, though. It's going to be really close. 80 minerals, 88, 100. Oh my god, dude. That was as close as it can get. And honestly, that's massive for Kare. He's delaying Oya's build significantly behind this, probably getting a tank, and he's going to start expanding. And I was going to say, Nyokin, the initial Zealots did quite a lot of damage, but I feel like going into that third Zealot, or that 3 Zealot total, was a bit of an overcommitment from Oya relative to the... Although, as I say that, this Dragoon is getting way too much value. Those Marines shouldn't have been killed for free there. And now the second Dragoon comes in. There's no bunker, there's no tank. And now Kare kind of just not in the best spot anymore, because he's going to have to research Siege to expand here.
Well, the thing is he saw the Goon come back, and he thought it was the Goon that was outside of his main, and in reality, it was just a Goon that popped out of the gate. So he was feeling confident that there was nothing down there, and just sent down his low HP Marines, and then he ran into the Goon that was just sitting there and waiting. So Oya has a big stranglehold on this. He doesn't have his Nexus up. Yeah. Oh, that's because he's one base and going straight into Robo. Now, I actually don't know about this, because the Robo is quite delayed, and Terran's now building up a lot of tanks. He still has a Vulture on the map, so if he can lay mines, it can intercept a lot of the Goon pressure. And you know that Terran, now that the Nat has been shut down, is going to rush Siege mode. So I think this might actually backfire. But at the same time, Benzine is such a big, or has such a big main, that he can drop anywhere. So there's no way for him to get up turrets.
It looks like Oya has a natural, though.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Well, he may have a natural, but it just now went up. Yeah, he rushed the Robo first. Now
yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay, well, he's first off, he's going to try and bust up this ramp. It's only 3 Marines and 2 tanks versus 6 Goons. But this is a bit ambitious. These Goons are really not dealing the damage they need to do versus the Marines. A lot of mishits going on. And I'm actually very surprised that Oya rushed Observer, because I thought if he just goes straight Reaver, combo it with some Goons, or just constantly elevator them in, maybe he could overwhelm a smaller tank count, like 3 tanks. But instead, he's just going to play it safe, get Observer. He knew that Kare was likely going to go into mines, so he doesn't want to just suicide Goons running around the map. So I think this is a fine choice, too.
Yeah, I like the Observers here from Oya, because already he committed to a pretty high Goon count just by going 2 gate and delaying his Nexus. And, you know, those were some good pickoffs on the Marines. It's really kind of interesting to me that Kare went for mines instead of Siege in this situation. You could see he was laying mines on top of his ramp. That's how scared he was of these Dragoons. And honestly, on this map, though, like, it's hard to Siege. I guess you could maybe use you can't even use... You could use the ledge on the left side, yeah. So I would like to see Kare kind of siege one tank up there to get this expansion, but it's really so
Ooh.
annoying. And Oya going in for a pick off on the tank, that would be really good for him. He's taking so much damage for that one tank though. Basically lost 2 Dragoons, took a bunch of damage on the others. And you have to remember here, I mean, Kare's expansion is relatively fast compared to Oyaji's expansion. So it's not like Oya can just throw around goons for free. Though obviously in this matchup, it's a bit harder to punish Protosses that take poor trades, especially on this map that's so big. It's kind of hard to go for a timing push. But I'll be interested here. I mean, this is really hard to navigate as a Terran player. When crazy stuff happens in the early game, it kind of puts you off a bit. And Oya can be on a number of builds right now. He could be rushing to Reavers. He could be rushing Arbiters. He could be maybe even going Carriers. He could be taking 3 bases off of nothing. And as Terran, I mean, most of the time, if you take, it's just hard to tell. I mean, do you go for a 3rd base and then Protoss could bust you? So he's kind of in a weird spot now in terms of he's going to have to make some real decisions on the builds that he wants to go for. But that being said, in Kari's base, there's an armory. He has 2 comsats. So if he scans around just fine, he'll be able to see what's going on. And he has an overall stable build, a good number of tanks. And it looks like Oyaji himself just going for that 3rd base. And I mean, this is tricky for Protoss too, because, you know, he can't just not make units and expand. So I think Oyaji's going for a very stable style here, making a lot of gates. He got that observer out to be safe. And look, he's actually going to be safe against any timing attack because his production is pretty good. And Kare is going up to 4 factories. So it looks like Kare might actually want to play a bit aggressively here.
Yeah, so I liked Kare's transition with the Academy and the Armory, but now I'm getting a bit worried that he's going into 4 fact, because a lot of times 4 fact, yeah, that's what I was worried about, is that right there, is that this is going to be a 5 fact timing. And the issue with this is, look at the supply. If it was like 65 to 70 or 80, I'm okay with this because that's manageable. But being down 40 supply, you know that he's going to be waiting for the factories to kick in to actually try and deal a lot of damage. So it's going to be, you know, a minute or two really. Now, as I say that, he pops 2, 3 goons.
Oh my god.
So that's actually a lot of damage. But back in Oyaji's base, it's not like he's teching really hard. He's actually just gateway man. Look how many units he actually has. So I think when Kare sees this, he's probably going to decide that this was probably not the wisest move to go into a 5 fact unless he's simply using the 5 fact to try and just take his 3rd base. Now he does find an open 3rd base, and those are low vultures, so any damage they can get done is just a blessing for him because they're basically dead weight at this point. And now he can just sit here and get a couple of probe kills. So this is really nicely done.
Yeah, that's some good harass from Kare. And it's going to be really intimidating seeing that unit count. Again, Oyaji actually also maneuvering this kind of weird space well. Like I said, he's going for those gates early, going for the units early. And so despite the fact that he took a faster 3rd than the Terran, he's going to be really safe now. What he's sacrificing for this is his tech timing, and he won't have any Arbiters anytime soon, and will just be on, as you said, Gateway Man. And Kare needs to identify this, and instead of pushing, he needs to just take his 3rd base here and get into big upgrades, because obviously the Terran army scales up infinitely well compared to the Protoss army. And Protoss really needs Arbiters and Storm and stuff like that to kind of keep up. So even though Kare is going to have a slower 3rd base, he needs to be okay with that. And he needs to just take that. But it looks like, nope, no 3rd base. We're going into 8 factory off 2 base. So you can see, Kare, I mean, this isn't a bad idea either. But I don't know. No,
is that a 9th? Yeah,
9th?
like that's a
oh
9th
my
factory.
God.
Like I'm looking at the map and I'm just like, am I missing a base? But I'm not. He's just simply going into infinity factories on 2 base. Now he's gonna actually have a lot of units, assuming he can use them all. And luckily for him, Oyaji was gateway man. I thought Oyaji was actually just gonna try and bust because lately on the ladder, I've been running into more people that are just going straight pure gate units. They're skipping tech completely. And Benzene, even though it's open, like look at the Sim City here. There's tons of mines, there's tons of depots, turrets everywhere. It's not easy to bust on Benzene. And actually, these 9 factories just went up in anticipation of this 3rd base kicking in.
Yeah, but I mean, the ordering here is definitely wrong. You know, I'll go ahead and say that right away. because you can't support this 9 factory here without that third base mining. And you would rather, if you're going to commit to this third base, I mean, obviously you want to get the command center before the factories, because these factories are going to be completely idle. So kind of a pretty significant blunder there from Kare. Can't really blame him because, you know, I mean, it is, you know, StarCraft's a hard game and he is in a hard position. But, you know, and I think probably, you know, I've been there where you're not too sure what you want to do as Terran, and you kind of go in the middle of the way. You take that middle of the road approach, but kind of executing it a bit off, man. This isn't gonna be good. And
Uh-oh.
OG, yeah, this map is really annoying because the pathing in terms of mainerding workers from your main and specifically from your main to your third and to your fourth is annoying. But Oyaji behind this actually taking a fourth and fifth base, so I really like how Oyaji is playing this. He scouted that initially he scouted the 5 factory, but then he saw that Terran, you know, they're both kind of playing this game where Protoss saw that Terran was going to push, so Protoss committed to making a lot of units, and then Terran saw that Protoss was making a lot of units, so he went on his third base, and then Oyaji saw that, you know, the Terran took his third base, so he's expanding himself now. So kind of both playing a really solid TVP here, just fundamentally. But I definitely like Oyaji's position, and I like how Oyaji just had that presence of mind of, because as a Protoss player, if you commit to all those gates and you see the Terran player just kind of expanding, you might have that gut reaction to be like, okay, I'm just gonna bust this. But instead, Oyaji playing really passively and taking his expansions and taking up himself. So I'm really liking how, you know, we're talking about how Oyaji is a really
Okay.
aggressive player, but he's actually playing really defensively here.
Well, this is a very hard fight to take as Terran because all of these goons are on high ground. That means all these tanks are missing. And remember, all those mines are set up. So if he drags a zealot into the tanks, that's going to be free picking for him. Look how many goons there are. It looks like the tanks are actually going to push them back, but this is not such a cut and dry fight. The goons could have definitely won versus these tanks if there was a zealot flood coming through the front at the same time. I think the lack of zealots is what really hurt Oyaji right there. But as played, he's still up 30 supply. He still has 5 bases. This is without an arbiter, and the arbiter should be coming out within the next 30 seconds. Now, when that comes in, regardless of whether they have stasis, if there's ever a moment where Terran doesn't scan, that's going to be free kills for Protoss. And remember, Terran did not rush their science facility. So even though he's at +1 armor, he does not have +2 weapon. It's still just +1.
Yeah, and Oyaji is a bit goon heavy. I mean, there's a lot of Protoss units, but when you're this goon heavy, it's actually not that scary an army. You want to have a lot of zealots, more so than you do have dragoons. And actually, Oyaji going for another bust here. Kari a bit out of position, unsieged. Though this is a really good position, honestly, for Terran. All the vultures are behind protecting the tanks, and the dragoons can't really get good connections onto the tanks. You can see the tanks just completely slaughter these dragoons, and this is the problem with heavy dragoon compositions, is that the unit kind of just sucks against tanks. You really want to have a backbone of dragoons there dealing damage specifically to vultures, but outside of that, you want to have a significant number of zealots just diving onto the tanks, and Oyaji just doesn't have that. He's taking these nice engagements on this high ground, but the thing is, oh, and actually,
Oh,
Kari didn't even have scan there. He scanned very late, so Oyaji did more damage than he should have, but you can see that the Terran army deals quite well with pure dragoons.
yes. So attacking through the bridges is kind of awkward for both sides. All the goons are not really being able to get on top of the tanks, but at the same time, the tanks and the vultures are kind of like way far forward, so the vultures end up getting picked off for free, but at least it keeps the tanks alive. So I think Kari needs to start thinking about getting his 4th base, trying to find a better angle, because it looks like Oyaji's dead set on just preventing any movement from the bridges, and it's really not going to work out for him. And this is a 2-player map, so if Oyaji gets both of the top middle and bottom middle bases, that's 7 base versus 5. It doesn't really matter how poorly you trade as Protoss or how well Terran trades. 7 versus 5, eventually Terran's going to run out of money. So I think Kari should kind of chill on the attack right now. He is taking his 4th base. He does have his armory spinning, so +2 is going to be coming in pretty soon. But now that Oyaji's gotten arbiters out, now he has to respect potential recall. We see the turrets going up, need some more mines there. And last time we saw this map, we were talking about how you can even recall the Nat. And look at the Nat. there's no defense there. It's one turret, so that could be a window of opportunity for Oyaji.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tricky decision to make for Oyaji himself is when does he commit to going for recalls? Because once you commit to recalls, that means half your army is going to get teleported away. One arbiter is down into that recall, so you have much less stuff to defend against the inevitable Terran push. So it's not always like that straightforward. Us as Terran players, we hate recall, but obviously making that decision to recall is also hard in itself because look, Kara is actually setting up a really nice defense here in terms of just building a line of turrets, mining up his base, and Oyaji sees this, so he's going to be a bit reluctant to go for recall, but there are definitely, as you said, Naokin, pathways into the Terran base, specifically through that natural base. And, it looks like this map is going to get split. Sometimes Protosses have the choice of getting into carriers in these situations, in these stalemate situations, which wouldn't be bad. In this case, Oyaji actually going for that second Stargate to go into more arbiters, which I really like. But it's going to be hard actually for Oyaji to do anything at this point because where does he attack? He can't attack this third. It's going to be really hard for him to maneuver himself to attack the fourth. And it seems like the main is not quite recallable, at least from Oyaji's perspective, because again, he has that observer, he sees the mines, and he sees a couple turrets. So it's going to be really hard for Oyaji to make anything happen, but here, kind of maneuvering his army into a really nice position to threaten that fourth base, and Kare doesn't have anything to spot this army, he doesn't have any units to defend, and the stasis is going to go off. Is this going to be a stasis or a recall? No, stasis on the ramp!
Yeah, stasis on the ramp, so that's going to be a dead fourth base. There's no tanks in position, really catching Kari completely out of position, even gets the vessel too. So all the arbiters remain, command center is going to go down, and now, because it's Benzine, in order to try and deal with this base, he's got to go through bridges again. And there's also Storm available for Oyaji.
Yeah, I think Oyaji, we're going to dub him the bridge toss or something, because he's been holding these bridges real well. Every time on this map, Kar is having difficulty just getting past these bridges, and Oyaji with some pretty strong positional play, and Kara, he recognizes, okay, that fourth base is a lost cause, and kind of this is going to be a desperation attack because he's really far behind if he can't get that fourth base mining. But the thing is, he's not even maxed. His army doesn't look that scary. Oyaji's army, I mean, just look at the map. That brown line looks way bigger than the blue line, in my opinion, at least.
So, yeah, this is going to be a rampage right here. He's just barreling in, and half of the Kari's units are out of position. Siege mode going down, but I think it's just too much Protoss. We don't know how many stasis there are. There's 3 arbiters, and there's a Zealot bomb right on top of the tanks. So I think this is just Oyaji going to wipe out Kari. He's got so many goons.
Yeah, Storm's going off, Stasis going off, Shuttle Bombs going off. He has so many Dragoons, man. Oyaji just loves his Dragoons, and the thing is, Kara just didn't have anything to fight that, and I feel like Kara didn't even have vessels at all that game. I mean, he was strapped for gas for sure. He went up to 9 factory off 2 gas, basically, and he was making a bunch of tanks and upgrades. The thing is, Terran really isn't functional until you get that 3rd gas, and that 3rd gas is at his 4th base, which he barely got mining for a bit. So finally the vessel's coming out, but a bit too late there. He didn't have EMP to stop stasis from going off, and his army wasn't even maxed. So that fight obviously gonna go Oyaji's favor, and you can see he even had 3 factory add-ons. So it was really hard this game with 2-2 upgrades, no 3rd attack upgrade yet, even though it's 21 minutes into the game. So it was really hard. It looked like Kari was obviously in a position to contest this game, but he, his build-up lacked a bit, and Oyaji kind of taking advantage of that. And at this point, Oyaji's up 100 supply, and I mean, Protoss is usually up in supply against Terran, but not this much, and not at this stage in the game. This stage in the game, Terran wants to be maxed perpetually, and Oyaji is just going for the jugular.
Yeah, here comes those goons just straight into the 3rd base. There's only a couple tanks sieged up. It's a 60 supply lead for Oyaji. He's dealt with, or I thought he was dealing with the top side, but not able to actually get through there. But the 3rd base, he's definitely going to be able to get through. But again, lack of Zealots is really what's saving him for now, because if Zealots get on top of these tanks, they're all dead. So Oyaji actually is going to have to back, And Kari is going to get his 4th base up and running, but here come the Zealots under the Arbiter. So this task force is going to get cleaned up. And I think this just has to be it, because now once this gets wiped out, 4th is easily accessed, and there's, again, no defense up there.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Oyaji, the one thing about Oyaji is that he has kind of slowed
There we
down in
go.
terms of his macro. Nice storm there. I mean, not like a matter.
Oh!
Oh my god, he kills every SCV ever made this game. Yeah, GG there. Oyaji was kind of slowing down there, didn't take more bases, but completely smashed Kare. And yeah, that was a really impressive game from, honestly, both players. I think Kare played pretty well. He showed a really good TVZ, showed a solid TVP. Oya is obviously really strong in PVT, so, and that map is particularly, I mean, I think it's obviously not a terrible Terran versus Protoss map, but you have to go into that split map situation, which not many Terran players are very comfortable with, and also Protoss has the options to go for these really aggressive kind of forward gates because it's a 2-player map. And Kare, you know, I think his build kind of was a bit shaky. I mean, why did we get the factories before we got the 3rd command center? But overall, I really liked how he played. Just in general, strong macro play from Kari. You know, he decided, you know, he wanted to play that long game, didn't necessarily go for that all-in 2 base, even though he was set up for it. And Oyaji himself also was set up for like a really, if he wanted to, he could have went for the big bust. But instead, he was like, no, you know what? You're taking bases. I'm going to take bases. So I like seeing those types of games, like seeing when both players are comfortable going into late game. There's a pretty good showing from both players.
Yeah, I think Kari did a good job defending. It was just the 4th base being caught is really what did him in. He was down the whole game, like in terms of supply. There's really no opportunity for him to attack. So I thought his game plan was pretty good. And then he traded on the bridges. Even though he lost his vultures, he traded pretty well. So it was okay from him, but it ends up being Oya's victory. So now we're going to be going back into another PVZ. There's only 2 Zergs left because already True touches. He's out of here.
Yeah.
It's going to be Zeke or Striker.
Slain.
It looks like it's going to be Striker. So we're going to see some NA Zerg action going up against one of the stronger Protoss players in EU. You know, Oyaji, I think last season, or maybe not last season, but like last year, I remember him being in like the 2200 range. And then last BSL, he was almost 2400. And I can tell you from experience, 2200 to 2400 is a huge jump. Now, likewise, Striker jumped from about 2100 ish to 2300 ish. So both players are pretty hot right now. So this should actually be a good matchup. And I was thinking about what you said earlier. We did see Striker last week because remember he was having like 130 supply, 11.5 minutes, like insane macro in the ZVP matchup. So this should actually be really good. So 3rd map is going to be Oya versus Striker. Let's get into it on Sylphid.
If the game is ready, but it might not be. So yeah. So actually, Oya is gonna take a little break here for a second, so we can talk about this. But honestly, yeah, Oya kind of. When I think about Protosses in the foreign scene, especially European Protosses, Oya is right up there. I mean, I think you probably have Bonneth, DeWalt, obviously, in their fucking ascended upon the European pantheon of Protoss gods. And then right below them is for sure Oya. And I would even say Favorite. I don't know who else. I mean, there are other Protoss players, right? I feel like, are there?
There's definitely Protoss players because like I played a few people in BSL and it's like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's just another Polish Protoss. I'm like, all right, who's this guy? Another Polish Protoss. So if you just go straight to just Poland, there's Protoss players.
Yeah, but definitely I think Oya and Favorite are for sure up there. So it looks like we're going to be ready to get into this game in just a minute here. Oya versus Striker on Sylphid.
Yeah, so yesterday we saw, or earlier, if you guys watched this for an all-star team, we saw just Snow just massacre True Touch. Now in the top middle we have Oyaji. In the bottom left we have the pink Zerg representing NA. It is Striker. And I mention this because I recently casted a game of Oyaji, and one of the things I noticed with him was he has solid PVZ, but there are points where he builds so many probes and it cuts into his macro. So I'm hoping that yesterday when he saw Snow play, is
Yeah.
that maybe he's kind of fixed that a little bit. Because if he's going up against somebody like Striker, who can definitely match the Protoss macro, if you're building probes at a time when you need units, he's just gonna kill you, man. Like we already saw it last week. So I wonder if Oyaji did notice that yesterday. I am also wondering if he will go Forge expand or Gate expand. He sent his probe back. Now, yesterday we saw all types of PVZ opens. We saw the 11 Nexus.
Yeah.
We saw Gateway expand. We saw Forge expand. And I don't know what this is going to be. Probe's not going out, so I guess this is either going to be Forge or Nexus.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be straight up Nexus, which is surprising. I mean, he's not scouting. Usually, if it's a Forge expand, you definitely want to scout, and you can delay the Forge, but he's not delaying a Forge because he's not scouting. So this is definitely going to be an 11 Nexus. And the thing is, Striker is actually going for an overpull. And well, apparently the idea is that this 11 Nexus, despite being Nexus first, is fast enough that, and you cut enough probes that you're going to have the Forge and cannons out on time versus something like an overpull. Again, this isn't a 9 pull from Striker, so I think, I mean, it looks like Oyaji's going to be fine. You know, I haven't been paying attention too much to the intricacies of this matchup, but I feel like this is how it's going to play out. Like the Forge already going down, the pool's not finished, so I feel like Oyaji is going to be just fine. And the thing is, you do cut a lot of probes for this. Remember, it's 11 Nexus, 11 Forge, so even though the Protoss gets the Nexus out first, which is really good, obviously, it still has to cut a lot of probes. And the thing is, Zerg here depends on how many lings Striker's going to make. Remember, Striker actually scouts this, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes one pair of lings. The thing is, he's going to get some damage out onto the cannon, but this is a huge commitment, Nyokin, if he were to go for the lings, because if you make 6 lings there and just rush them straight into the Protoss's base and don't kill him, and he went Nexus first, you're really far behind. So I like this play from Striker where he only makes 2 lings and he drones up. And again, remember, Oyaji cut a lot of probes, and he has 2 probes out on the map not mining. So honestly, Oyaji's economy is kind of not where it should be right now, or not where he would want it to be, that's for sure. So I think, again, even though Oyaji got this Nexus out really fast, Striker's going to be pretty comfortable knowing that he can just drone up and be in a good economic spot. Though this gas is really early, so I'm assuming he's going to go straight for Lair, which is nice also.
Yeah, so yesterday when I watched the 11 Nexus, I was a bit worried about the overpull too, and actually the lings got there when the Ford or when the cannon was 99%.
Yeah.
So a couple, I think, ran in, but it was only like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So the overpull is a bit dicey if they end up building 6 lings versus this 11 Nexus. But one of the benefits of Oyaji's build is because he rushes this Nexus, he doesn't have to build a second pylon. So you build that cybernetics instantly at the natural, and that just streamlines your Stargate that much faster. So he may get even more than 1 Overlord kill if he ends up going into the Stargate play. Now, there is the gas in that. Generally, a sign of Stargate play doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, but generally that's what it is. So we'll see if this Overlord can spot the gas and figure out what's going on. We still don't know if Stargate's going to go down yet. I imagine that's got to be the play, though.
Yeah, man, and this is what I like about specifically non-gateway openings in PvZ, is that you get your Stargate out so fast, your tech is out so fast, and Striker, the Zerg has to compensate for that. That's why you saw Striker going for that really early gas. Striker's Lair is actually really early, but the Stargate is even faster. So it's going to be, look at that. The Spire goes down. I don't even know if, did Oyaji even start his Stargate? The thing is, he has this probe. Where's Oyaji's Stargate? He has this, wait, the core is spinning and there's a Dragoon.
Yes, so he did not get...
And he's getting +1. Nikon, is this a Dragoon build?
Yeah, it's a Goon bust. So this is going to be most likely 5-gate Goon. When I say we, I mean I saw this about 10 years ago when Newbie pulled it out versus, I think it was Chadong on Heartbreak Ridge.
No, I've seen this before too, dude.
Yeah, back then, this Heartbreak Ridge and the Zergs were playing, I think, 5-hatch, a build that was really not common those days. So the 5-hatch or the 5-gate Goon build ended up countering it because all the hatches were far forward. and the goons would just pick them off. Now I see a Citadel also coming in, but if Striker was paying attention and saw those two goons, you gotta wonder, why do you have two goons? I could get behind seeing one to try and get rid of an Overlord, but two, what could that possibly mean?
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, he sees the forge spinning, but did he see he saw one Dragoon, right? At least, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I think he saw one goon, but he didn't see the cybernetic spinning. I'm not sure if he even saw the
oh,
forge. Oh, now he definitely, if he was watching, saw three goons.
I
So
don't know.
this is gonna be well. Now he knows for
Oh,
sure
now
there's
he's
three
knows.
goons.
Yeah, he knows what's going on. He even he sees the core spinning. So, yeah, and this is tricky, honestly, because this Dragoon push is really strong, and you might think about strategically, what is Zerg supposed to do here? What is the optimal, tactical play or whatever? But the reality is, at the end of the day, Zerg just has to macro a lot. Going for Mutalisks, though,
Yeah,
what do you think about this?
yeah. So I was gonna say that versus 5 gate goon, usually you're going for Ling Muta because that's a good counter. But I don't think this is actually Oyaji going for 5 gate goon. What I think this is he's forcing the comp that he wants, and then this Templar Archive is not even for Storm. I think this is gonna be like 2 more gates go down. This is gonna be some kind of weird goon zealot Archon mix because he knows he's gonna most likely face Ling Muta. He didn't see
Yeah,
the Templar Archive either. That's another thing. So another Muta comes out. So this really looks like it's going to be Mass Goon. And if you got Ling Muta versus this on 3 bases that are up and running, as Zerg, you're feeling like, well, I can't not win this, right? So I think that that's the idea here is he's going to go for this weird combination. He's even gotten a second Forge coming down. So he's rushing 2-1.
yeah, this is weird, man. I mean, Ling Muta, that's the first time I hear. Look at that drone saturation, though. I would be if you're actually
There's the
right. He's
Lings.
actually going for Ling Muta. Okay, so no Hydralisks here. Uh, yeah, I don't know, man. This is uncharted territory for me. I feel like if I were playing Zurich, I would definitely be thinking about I'm just gonna make a lot of Hydras here, but looks like he's gonna go for these mutas. And the thing is, these mutas haven't really done that much damage to the Protoss economy. Kind of got pushed out by the initial goons. And look at Oyaji's cannon placement here is really nice. Kind of covers that left side, and the center side can be
Uh-oh.
covered. He's gonna get this one Stormer. The guy goes down. High Templar gets killed. And yeah, the thing is, he's not going for Archons. It looks like he was trying to bank up some Storms. So that's huge for Striker. And the thing is, yeah, look at, I mean, I guess a lot of Mutalisks make sense because he doesn't have any Corsairs. These Mutas are really annoying. And just in general, in a man fight, like straight up, the Mutalisks flying over Dragoons, they don't do that poorly. It's kind of like the same versus Goliaths, right? Like, they do well. Eventually, the Dragoons are more cost efficient and bigger numbers, but it's, with the link support, it's really nice. And Striker's just gonna have a lot of stuff, but like you said, Naoki, I feel like you had a good idea in terms of going into Zealot Archon, but it looks like Oyaji is just gonna push out right now. Isn't it? Seems like this is gonna be a bit too early.
Yeah, this is a big misstep from Oyaji, and showing the one Templar was a big misstep because as soon as he showed the Templar, Hydras got made, so he knows that it's no longer just pure goon. So now Striker instantly takes a 4th base, and Oyaji's kind of missed his window. I think if he had built 4 Templars out of those 4 gates and just went with 2 Archons, even if he didn't have a huge amount of goons, comboed with around a Zealots, I think he easily busts through. But now that he's kind of wavering on when to go and he's waiting for energy, look at Zerg's supply. It's slowly getting higher and higher and closer to the Protoss army. So really the only difference between these armies in terms of value is going to be the 2-1 upgrades that Protoss is going to have, and of course the Storm. But I don't think that's enough to overrun 7 hatch Hydra production, especially when we already pointed out Striker's drone count. It's huge.
Striker's so good, man. It's actually unreal. I think it's no joke, dude. Striker's not a joke, and dude, he's so good. You can't do these weird builds against him because he's too tight on his build orders. Just look at his macro. He has so much stuff, dude. And the thing is, you have to play solid yourself to play against a player like this. Oyaji finally pushing out, but look at his army. It's tiny. The thing is, Striker's only on these units like Hydra Ling, Mutalisk. So if Oyaji gets some God Storms, there's still a chance for him to push through here, but he doesn't even have Storm left, actually. So, and I don't think Striker knows this just yet, but Striker's macro is just absolutely impeccable. I mean, that is by far sort of the best part of his play. And I mean, his Mutalisk micro is really good also, but his build order, his macro is just, spot on. And Oyaji is going to struggle with just dealing with the amount of Zerg units that are gonna get thrown his way. Finally, another storm gonna connect here, a huge storm onto the Hydralisk clump, and that's gonna be enough to do a lot of damage. The upside about Oyaji's build is he already has a huge Dragoon composition, which is probably the best composition to have in PvZ up until Zerg gets Dark Swarm. So, I was talking about Striker being nuts and stuff, but the thing is, he's taking these terrible fights right now, taking some terrible trades, and if you let the Protoss build on, build upon the fights over and over, right, like getting good trades, this Protoss army, this Protoss composition starts building up and becomes unstoppable. So I'm afraid here, it looks like Oyaji is actually going to start snowballing onto Striker.
Yeah, 40 supply lead for Oyajin. As you were saying, none of the goons actually fell in any of the previous fights, so they're just continually hitting these Hydralisks basically for free. And now he has 4 Templar available versus somebody that just threw their death ball of Hydras. So how's he actually going to deal with this Dragoon count? All Oyaji has to do is make sure he doesn't get these Templars picked off, reinforce with a round of Zealots. I imagine that this 4th base is at least going to die, potentially even the Nat's going to die. So I think Oyaji might actually plow through. It's 120 to 65 now. Oyaji, he literally only has to reinforce right now.
Yeah, Oyaji, I think he's done it. I mean, the thing is, Striker's still on 4 base with 20 million hatcheries, but Oyaji has his 3rd up and running, has a bunch of gateways in his main reinforcing this. All he has to do is just rally Zealots that run across the map like they're Usain Bolt. Some more Stormers coming also. They're going to reinforce this big ball, and yeah, Striker GG's. And honestly, man, I'm a bit disappointed because I feel like Striker was definitely in a really good spot there and got a bit complacent. And the thing is, I mean, it's, Zerg can get a lot of units, but you need to just play a bit more, how to say this, just play a bit more patient, because if you take those fights too early, you get stormed like that, and once you lose one control group of Hydralisks, you can have, like, for free, you can have all the macro in the world, but the Protoss comp, like, that style of Zerg relies on flooding the Protoss, relies on huge macro, relies on these big sort of engagements. And but the Protoss ball is ridiculously cost efficient in comparison. So once you give up too many units, you start getting, and the Protoss starts building up that Dragoon count, you just start getting snowballed on. So really unfortunate there, but Oya played really well.
Yeah, and it's funny because the 2-1 kicked in, and then all of the Zerg kind of just fizzled out. And I may have really just came down to 2-1, because once you hit +2 weapon, like Zealots, if they're right on top of the Hydras, like start 4-shotting them, and Dragoons start just massacring Hydras. And the fact that the Dragoons never died is really the key thing there. They just remained alive, and they're pretty expensive actually in Protoss versus Zerg. So nicely done from Oyaji. It was getting a bit dangerous, because if you get 4 base Zerg up for free, you better really know how to deal with it. And it was kind of a weird comp from Oyaji in the initial stages, so I was a bit worried, but he pilots it to a victory, and now Team Zerg is down to 1 Zerg left, and that's Zeki. But that's not a bad Zerg to rely on, because we saw him get 5 kills last week or something absurd. But
Well,
now we're
it
gonna
looks
have
like the thing
a
is,
PvP.
I'll just point this out real quick. It looks like there's 1 revive per team. So
Yeah, we have 1 revive. So somebody from Team Zerg will be able to get resurrected if they all get eliminated. But still,
yeah, I
1
mean,
player left. And then
yeah.
you can't revive both of them. You can only revive 1. So
Yeah, which one to revive? They're all
yeah.
really strong players. I mean, last week True Touch was really adamant about playing more games, so it might be True Touch. Even though they had like Avilov on the player roster, True Touch was like, nope, give me that revive. I don't need Avilov in here. So I feel like I think we know who's gonna get revived, but we'll see. Oya versus Kryak is going to be the next game, and that's going to be on Bubbles, which is basically Fighting Spirit, but a bit more modern, a bit easier to play in a sense because easier to play. I mean, the thing is the sort of positional advantages there are a bit negated because there's more um, bridges and it's easier to kind of run up the high ground bases, which is definitely much better for Protoss than it is for Terran. But a good Terran map nonetheless. And Kryak himself, we saw him play a really strong TVP last week. He almost beat the Walt. Well, it wasn't that he almost beat the Walt, but he definitely got into a really good position in the early game, in the early mid game, and he had some good chances against the Walt. And I mean, DeWalt is, as we've been saying nonstop for the past couple weeks here, DeWalt is on a level of his own. So, I feel like Kryak has some really good chances against Oya. And I think it's just in general, what you need to do against Oya is just be really solid, especially in the early game, because he's really aggressive early game PvT. So if he survives that initial Zealot push, he has some good chances.
Yeah, so our next map is going to be Bubbles, Oya versus Kryak. Let's get into it. I think we're getting into it. Yeah, here we go. So in the top right, we have our German Terran player. In the yellow, it is Kryak. And in the bottom right, in the gray, we have Oyaji. So last week we did end up seeing Kryak versus DeWalt on this map. It was top left versus top right. Kryak really just struggled to get his third base. And I'm mentioning that because with these positions on Fighting Spirit, even though this is a different map, it's almost identical. I feel like that's going to be another potential problem for Kryak getting that third base. Artosis loves to talk about how hard it is to get a third base on Fighting Spirit. And on these spawns, the third base is so close to Protoss, they can easily go for Zealot drops. You have to really be on the ball to try and secure that base. So look to that to be a potential contested area in this matchup. Now, Oyaji, no forward pylon this time. He's just going to be playing straight up.
Yeah, these are terrible spawns for Kryak, and like you were saying, and like how we've been discussing this map is just so much easier to kind of maneuver your units on, just because of how they made the ramps and everything, compared to Fighting Spirit. Fighting Spirit has like that old ghetto, like 2001 Lost Temple ramps or something, like where units are just completely inept in terms of getting up of the ramp. But this is like kind of like the 2020 version of that, where the ramps are actually really well kind of laid out. So the thing is, attacking this third base at the mid right, at the 3 o'clock position, is going to be so much easier for Protoss. Now, likewise, obviously, Terran's going to be a bit easier to get up his ramp and defend and stuff, but I think just in general, that's going to be more of a liability for the Terran, and just in general, expanding towards the Protoss kind of in the mid game, early mid game, is much harder than it is in the late game when you have a huge army. So that's a better kind of fourth base in a sense than it is a third base. So Oyaji's going to have a lot of options here to do, some big damage. Okay, I was going to say, Naokin, because I was looking at Oyaji's base and it looked pretty standard. And I'm like, what is this? But this actually looks like it's just going to be to hide a pylon.
Yeah. So it is just going to be to hide a pylon. But knowing Oyaji, you can tell from how he plays that he thinks about this. So I actually think he might send a second probe out to go to top left and build something and keep that probe in the main of Kryak, because it really looks like, well, hey, he just did it to hide a pylon. That would be a big brain move, right? And we see that something is out on the map. This might not be a Zealot. It might actually be a probe, but I actually think it's a Zealot because it's a little bit too slow. Oh, so that's a bit disappointing, but I could see that happen. I had a game versus Ariador, right?
Yeah.
And he knew that I knew he proxied something. So he went to proxy a Citadel, and then he canceled it. But I scouted it so late that I didn't actually, is this right? I scouted it so late that I didn't actually see it. But in his main, he was going to build a Citadel too. So when I see it get canceled, I think it's not going to be DTs, but it's actually still DTs. So it's like these are the types of plays that somebody like Oyaji can make. Now a probe got a zealot pick or a marine pickoff, but look at that SCV control dealing a lot of damage to the zealot. So really nicely done from Oyaji. I'm a bit sad that a second probe didn't go up to top left because I think that would have been a genius move.
Yeah,
But
that would have
regardless,
been.
he got a bit of damage done with the zealot so far.
Yeah, he got some damage. Now this game, he's also going for the 3 zealot.
Oh no!
He's gonna get that SCV for free, but Cryok, honestly, he just has to micro these 3 Marines. 3 Marines is better. He should just stand and fight, but not feeling too confident in his Marine micro, he has to use that Sim City. When you have 3 Marines like that, you just have to split them and sort of pull back the 1 Marine that's getting run at. It's obviously a bit harder than just using that Sim City, but nonetheless, Cryok only losing 2 SCVs, and Oyaji. The thing about Oyaji's early aggro play, I do like it, but he tends to commit too hard in terms of always going for that 3. Okay, actually he only went for 2 zealots this game, so I actually prefer that compared to last game where he went for 3 zealots, and despite the fact that he did a lot of damage, the fact that he went for 3 zealots actually slowed him down significantly. But now he only went for 2 zealots. You can see already up to 2 dragoons, and he has a second gateway. So if Cryok is too aggressive here,
Cannot let this in.
yeah, the SCV is going to get a nice scout, so he knows it's 2 gate. The thing is, he's pushing at the same time, but Cryok has a lot of units, and he was going for that 1 tank FD, which is a pretty nice response in general to early Ellis. Gets a Dragoon for free, which is massive. Obviously, I mean, Oyaji now can no longer pressure this base with the mines going down. The thing is, with 2 gate, obviously you can pressure an early expand like this, but okay, as we get the lag screen, if Cryok drops from this game, it's going to be really unfortunate, because I was going to say he's actually in a much better position than Oyaji is.
Yeah, this is like a build order advantage for Cryok right now with the mines.
Yeah.
Protoss can't just move into it unless they're going to just, build a couple zealots and pray to God that the zealots just tank all the hits. So a bit of a unlucky scenario here. It looks like Cryok's actually going to drop. Now, we don't know exactly what Oyaji is going to do, but from my experience playing ladder, this generally would have been a third Nexus, and if Cryok over defends, all of a sudden he's not in the greatest position. But I did see a building going up in his main. If that's a starport, I love it, or an eBay.
So yeah, I don't know, man. It looks like we're going to have to replay this, and that's unfortunate because Cryok he obviously wasn't at a game-ending advantage or anything like that, but he was definitely ahead after that. He was definitely like a decent amount ahead, because the thing is, Oyaji basically did no damage. His expansion was going to be later, lost to Dragoon, and had no way of punishing that really fast command center. So I think any Terran in their right mind would happily play from that position and feel comfortable and feel at an advantage. So unfortunately, Cryok, despite defending pretty well and going for kind of a better build order choice overall, sometimes these things happen and you can't really let it affect you. At the end of the day, these are still, not the highest stakes games, and we are kind of all playing for, putting on a good show and having fun. So hopefully it doesn't get too much into his head, even though that is really frustrating, because like I said, he was definitely ahead. But regardless, I think we're probably going to replay this game.
Yeah, so we have to wait for Cryok to get back online. It looks like he really did drop. It's not like BattleNet crash or something. He's not in the channel. So we'll wait a little bit to see if he actually comes back. We may actually have to send in our remaining Terran body, but it seems like he's not here right now. So Cryok is here already, so just a temporary disconnect. But yeah, that kind of sucks that happened, especially after the early stages.
Yeah.
So let's get back into our second PVT of the day. It is going to be Oyaji versus Cryok. We're just going to be replaying it on Bubbles. I wonder if, I'm pretty sure Oyaji's not opening 2-gate again. Like, you almost never see 2-gate, and I feel like that's definitely not going to be back-to-back 2-gate. So I wonder if Cryok...
The thing is, though, like, he didn't actually, like, straight up... I don't think his plan is to go 2-gate specifically, like, the type of 2-gate you would think when you think about like 10, 15 gate, like, oh, I'm gonna go 2 gate Dragoon to pressure. I think he kind of does it because he likes to open Zealot pressure a lot, and then he wants to get that second gate because honestly, a lot of the times his Zealots just don't do enough damage, and he commits really hard to them. So you saw that game. He actually opened up kind of, he opened up with the Zealots and got completely shut down, and then he's susceptible to the FD. But anyway, it looks like we're gonna get going into the rematch of Krok versus Oya on Bubbles.
Yep. So we have in the top left our white Terran. It is Kryok, and in the bottom right we have Oyaji again. And I would love if he does the proxy pylon or hidden pylon again, let it get scouted, and then build something there. That would be my move. But I do wonder, like you said, the Zealots last game didn't do a lot of damage, but in the game versus Kari, they did do a lot of damage. So
Yeah.
I wonder if he's recognized that, well, hey, this didn't work out so well versus Croc. Maybe I need to just go straight Goon, or what's his mindset here? The 12 Nexus would be a good follow-up because he's already shown that he's going to be aggressive in all of his games. So something like 12 Nexus can, completely switch it up and throw Cryok for a loop.
Yeah, maybe, but 12 Nexus also, I think, just in general plays into it kind of it might seem like polar opposite to the Zealot pressure because one's a pressure build, one's a super greedy build. But in terms of what the Terran wants to do against both those builds, it's the same thing. You don't want to expand. You want to stay. You want to get up to that factory really fast, and you want to make Marines early. And if you get Marines and Vultures early, you can definitely punish 12 Nexus, and you can survive versus the 1 gate Zealot Crusher. But it looks like he's not going for that 12 Nexus. He's actually going to go for the 1 gate. And yeah, every time you replay a game on the same map, there are 100% mind games at stake or at work. They're both thinking about last game. They're both thinking about the openers they did. And when you see them do the same openers, that's always a conscious decision of, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. And I know they know that I did it, but whatever. So, and at the end of the day, mind games are kind of like that added thing. The reality is it doesn't matter. They can do whatever build they want to do, and it is what it is. But it looks like they're both going for the same build. I've never actually seen Oyaji not make a Zealot early game, and actually, it's almost better that they replayed this game. Look, the Zealot, dude, Oyaji never goes for not Zealot. Never ever have I seen him go straight Dragoon in this matchup. So the thing is, I think Oyaji, he does get a lot of damage done usually, as we see Kryok is actually pulling SCVs off gas. So probably going to go for an expansion.
Oh, that hurts. That's going to sting.
Barely misses the Zealot, but I mean, it is cross spawn. Look, Kryok already going down to build a bunker, and it's going to be in time for the Zealot, I think. It's not going to be in time. He needs to pull an SCV.
Yeah, even if it is in time, it's only 2 Marines, and I'm expecting to see that barracks lift off any second because 2 Marine expand is pretty standard. Even though it's not lifted off, there's no 3rd Marine coming. And the bunker is going to complete, but see ya, we're out of there. And this was a timed Zealot so that the Goon doesn't get delayed either. So the Goon could actually run by 2.
Oh, he can't lose these Marines! He lost 1 Marine, which is massive because now the Dragoon can just run. And he didn't go for the Vulture. He's just going straight for the add-on, which is insanely greedy by Kryok. I mean, I see that he does see the Dragoon, so he knows it's just 1 Zealot. But that 1 Vulture is crucial in just outputting the damage onto the Zealot. And the Vulture can still be good alongside the Marines against Dragoons that run by. So the thing is, Oyaji, instead of running straight, this is a huge mistake from Oyaji. Instead of running straight for the Terran's base, he chases this SCV for no reason. I mean, I know you want to deny some scouting, but the thing is, you already have a Zealot inside the Terran's base. You killed 1 Marine, so you know there's only 1 Marine in the bunker, which means the Dragoons can run past insanely easy, and he gets the SCV. So overall, Oyaji, regardless of what happens, he's definitely hiccuping the Terran build. And in this game, as opposed to last game, he only went for that one Zealot. So you can see that behind this, his Nexus is much faster. He already has Dragoons out. He has 3 Dragoons out. He's going to have range soon, so he's going to be able to pressure this bunker. He might be able to get, pick off on the tank, which would be huge. But Cryok, actually, he went up to 4 Marines. I think he's been making Marines this whole time, which in general I do like. And at this point, Oyaji's... Oh, his range finishes! He jumps in, and he's gonna snipe that tank, and that one Dragoon is actually gonna live.
Gosh.
That is so lucky. With 4 HP, it was only gonna take one more shot or something from the Marines, but unfortunately, kills the tank.
He doesn't have 3 Marines. This is a dead bunker. I mean, he doesn't have 3 SCVs. Yeah, he's gonna pull like you do to try and soak up some hits, just so he can get an SCV down in time.
Yeah, so luckily, and he's gonna... Cryok, you need to click the Dragoons, man. That's so unfortunate because that Dragoon, the second from the top, is the one that was low. He could have easily sniped it, but Siege Mode finishes, and Cryok somehow gonna live, but he took a massive amount of damage there. He lost a lot of SCVs. He definitely had his command center delayed. He lost 1 Marine. He lost the tank, crucially, and more importantly, Oyaji actually lost 0 Dragoons there, so you can see, which surprisingly, I thought Oyaji would go for something like 1 Robo into a 3rd Nexus after that, because he didn't lose any Dragoons, so he had all his units. Meanwhile, Cryok had his everything delayed. So I feel like Oyaji could have gone away there with just 1 gate expand, but actually instead, even getting that 2nd gate makes sense. I think he's just going to cut some Dragoons, and he's going to get this 3rd base up fast as all heck, and behind this Cryok is totally blind, so he's forced to get these turrets up. It could be DTs, it could be a Reaver coming, but fortunately for Oyaji, he actually basically is doing the best possible build he could do in this situation, which is getting this 3rd, and he's gonna have a lot of time just in general. If first of all, his obs is really fast, so he's gonna see what the Terran is doing. But he'll have a lot of time to just kind of cut probes and defend any kind of timing attacks. And remember, this is cross spawns, so in any case, Cryok is going for that armory, which in general is just the best choice because Goliaths are really important just in defending shuttle harass, and getting your upgrades is really important. But Cryok, his 3rd base is going to be really late.
Yeah, this is almost an impossible situation for Croc. He also had to build turrets, so everything is delayed. There's like 3 or 4 turrets going up, so that's between half a Nexus or 3/4 of a Nexus simply in minerals spent. So that's basically going to pay that Nexus trade for the turrets. That's basically just an even trade right there. Oyaji is massively ahead. He can get so many probes out now. You can see that he's cut on units and gates now. He doesn't need any more gates. He doesn't need any more units right now because he knows Terran cannot attack in a situation like this. So we see that Croc is going for a 3rd factory. He's got to go for a 3rd factory simply so he can try and take his 3rd base. This is not going to be for a timing. So everything is in control for Oyaji. All I'm really wondering is what's his follow-up now that he's got these 3 bases. The Benzene game, his Citadel and Stargate were pretty late, but the way this build is going, that was a 7:30 Citadel. It's a little bit late, but based on the flow of the game, I think this is pretty standard. So he's setting up for about a 12:30, 13-minute Arbiter timing, and simply because of how delayed Cryok is, I just don't see how he can match it. And even if Oyaji doesn't use the Arbiter to attack initially, he can just bank up the energy and wait for Croc to move out. And when that happens, Oyaji's probably on 5 base at least.
Yeah, and Cryok, he's going for that starport, so looks like he's going to commit really hard to this 2 base type play. Now the Observer gets in, Oyaji scouts that there's an armory. Now he sees the starport. He still hasn't seen a 3rd command center as he sees the 3rd factory there, 4th factory he sees with the Observer. So he knows this is going to be kind of a more aggro. The thing is, there might always be a command center that he missed somewhere, kind of on the right side of the base, but the factories are so fast right now that I think he's putting it together. Okay, Terran's on 2 base, but the reality is this just is so slow. It shouldn't be scary at all for Oyaji, and usually when you see these kinds of committed two-base plays from Terran, sometimes even taking up the Arbiters is not always ideal because they're going to have vessels in time to EMP or Arbiter, and if they EMP or Arbiter, suddenly your entire tech was wasted. But the thing is, the Terran build here is so delayed that Oyaji has time to just get whatever he wants. And you can see he actually sees that sixth factory. That I don't know if he's actually paying attention to what he sees with the observer, but at some point he's going to spot it. In any case, I think Oyaji, I mean, he has a couple of units at 12 o'clock. He knows that basically Terran doesn't have a third, though to be honest, obviously Terran could have like a hidden third at bottom left or top right, so I'm going to be interested to see if Oyaji tries to scout for that. But the Arbiter Tribunal basically done, and he's going to start making Arbiters, and you can see on this map, like usually you need 3 pylons to wall these ramps, but on this map you only really need 2, so pretty, you know, pretty nice for Oyaji. But yeah, I mean, at this point Oyaji, all he needs to do is stay on this 3 base economy and just make a lot of units. And Cryok, he's gonna have a big decision here, because Cryok can actually choose to go for a 3rd base randomly, and the idea behind that is that if Oyaji commits to just staying on this 3 base, his 4th base is going to be kind of slower than usual, and that could be one way of for Cryok to get back into the game. But obviously if Cryok commits to going into 3 base, he's going to mine out his 2 bases, his main and his natural, much faster than usual, and it's going to put him in a precarious later game situation. But as I say that, Oyaji is confident in taking a 4th base, despite the fact that he knows Terran is on a committed 2 base attack here. And the thing is, I think Oyaji is just so far ahead from that early game that he can afford to take this 4th base and have enough units to defend against this timing attack. Now, Cryok, he's definitely not ready to attack just yet. I can't imagine 2-1 is finished, but he's going to want to push out onto the other side of the bridge. And it looks like this map, as opposed to Fighting Spirit, you can't actually build turrets on the other side of the bridge. So there's really, it's really unfortunate, but that's not too good. Okay, you can just kind of further up a bit. But Cryok, anyway, he's going to want to get a bit out onto the map just to restrict Oyaji's kind of vision of when he pushes out. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like, it's going to be really hard for Cryok to win this game, I feel like.
So Cryok did have 2 options here. He's either going to take a 3rd base or he needed to go all in. And it looks like he's going into that 7-fact flash timing that we saw about a year ago. And he's actually going to have a really strong attack because he's also getting 2-1, but he's going to be very low on econ after this initial push out. And luckily for him, because Oyaji delayed his tech a little bit, there's probably only 1 stasis available. Now, when the build first came out, Flash was saying how you needed Storm and stasis to deal with it. Now, my personal opinion is you only need 1 of them. I think Storm is the better option. But the fact that there's only 1 stasis here, I don't think it's enough to actually stop it. And something that I noticed at Oyaji's 3rd base was there actually weren't that many probes mining minerals. It was kind of maybe like 10 or so. So his econ is actually not super bananas just yet. So Cryok, if he can get across, he's going to be okay. Here we go. Another engagement at the bridges. We already saw Oyaji trade very well on Benzing. This time he gets more zealots on top of the tanks, and it looks like they're just way too far forward. Look at all of the tanks fall.
Yeah, this is absolutely terrible for Cryok. The thing is, he just didn't have enough units. And yeah, oh my god, yeah. Sometimes that's just how TVP goes, man.
Yeah, so Cryok not able to actually get across the bridges. It seems like that's one of the pain points of that map is there's double bridges, but they're also tighter than the entrances on, well, maybe they're about the same, but regardless, you saw that he had 2 different armies split up. And the zealots got on top of both of them, and all the tanks in the front means that they're all exploding. And once those are gone, it doesn't matter how many factories you have. You just don't have any of the strong, powerful tanks shelling on the goons anymore. So Oyaji, this week, he's on a 3 kill. Now he's going to be facing the last remaining player of Team Zerg. It's going to be Zeke versus Oya on Eclipse. And we already saw Zeke last week get 5 kills. He kind of almost reversed the damage that DeWalt did. So we'll have to see if he can reverse the damage that Oya's done, because Oya has almost eliminated single-handedly Team Terran. if he takes out Zeke, he's gonna he's gonna wipe out all of Team
Oh,
Zerg except for their revive. So
now
it's
can look at this.
True
Look at
Touch.
this. I
You can
just like I
revive
called it.
yourself before.
Apparently, you can revive yourself before all 3 members are deleted. And who's revived? True Touch himself. So True Touch, I think, probably unhappy with his earlier performance, wants to avenge himself. But yeah, you can see True Touch is he just wants to play every game possible. He can't accept, he doesn't want to end on a loss, and I can respect that. Now, obviously, he lost to Kare, not to Oya. So, and I think in general, True Touch's EVP is for sure better than his EVT. I think after the thing is he played really well against Kare, but um, in general, I would just put a lot more confidence into a lot of these Zerg players' EVP ability relative to their ZVT ability, and I think he's going to feel really comfortable with Oya. Oya still he plays a solid PvT game, but as we saw, it kind of weird builds sometimes in PvZ, and I wonder if he's gonna. I mean, on Eclipse, I wonder if he's gonna do the same thing he did to Striker on this map.
He could do that. The game that I just casted of him, maybe like a week or so ago, he also went for one goon on that. I don't think he ended up going for mass goons, but he did build an initial goon. So it seems like the goon opener is what he likes to go for.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that is what he goes for. Is he going to follow up with Stargate? It'd be kind of weird to go Stargate with goon, but you never know with somebody like Oyaji. So our next matchup is going to be Oyaji versus True Touch. Map is going to be on Eclipse. I think we're about to start any moment now.
Yeah.
Yep, here we go. Into Eclipse, Oyaji versus True Touch. See if he can get rid of Team Zerg and have only Zeke remaining as the last ditch hope for Team Zerg. So in the top right, we have our Polish Zerg. He's revived himself again this week. It is True Touch. He wants revenge, man.
Yeah.
He wants to all kill the remaining players. And in the bottom left, we've got our purple or our orange Protoss representing Team IRK. It is Oyaji. So what do you think we're going to see? Gateway expand, Forge expand, 11 Nexus? What is it?
No idea. Maybe we could see a 2-gate in his base, channel the inner Gosu Dark. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, against Striker, he went for that 11 Nexus. Now, this being a 2-player map, I feel like that's more unlikely, just because Zerg's gonna reliably scout you. If Zerg goes for anything that's slightly more aggressive than Overpool, you just die. But at the same time, the rush distance on this map is significantly longer than the rush distance on Sylphid, for example. So Oyaji looks like he pulled the probe back, but sending the probe back out. So this looks like it's going to be a gateway expand, which I do like on, of course, a 2-player map. And the actual rush distance between the two naturals isn't that big compared to the rush distance between the two mains, which obviously the rush distance between the two mains is going to matter for Lings getting to the Protoss space, but the rush distance between the two naturals is going to be a bit better for Protoss in terms of gateway expanding. So yeah, I do like the gateway expand just in general. It's a strong build. Obviously, we've been talking about the differences between gateway expanding and Forge expanding, how gateway expanding is obviously a bit more aggro, not as, a bit more high variance, but it allows the Protoss to put on a lot of early pressure. And the important thing about putting on early pressure in this matchup is that you get the scout. You get the scout a lot, so as Oyaji being really annoying with this probe, but he's gonna lose. No, he doesn't lose it. He does not lose it, but True Touch does get a lot of damage onto it, and he can't put down his natural, which is really annoying. But at the same time, I feel like this is fine for True. Yeah.
Goodbye.
I think this is fine for True Touch because now he's gonna make all his links, so he's gonna be completely safe against this first Zealot. And actually, he's gonna go for drone. So.
Oh, so we got a pause coming in. Probably Oyaji has probably something with his mouse, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. Well, we'll just wait and see when Oyaji gets back. But
Yeah.
This gateway expand pressure build, yesterday we saw Snow basically kill True Touch with 3 Zealots. The damage was absolutely absurd. So Oyaji,
Yeah.
he's
You think
watched that
Shutachi
gameplay,
has
right?
some PTSD right now?
He probably
This
has some
one gate build is
PTSD. Yeah,
overpowered.
yeah. Oyaji's trying to think if he can channel his inner Snow here. I think
Yeah.
that's the logic behind the gateway expand specifically versus True Touch. So we'll
Yeah.
see if he can make some magic happen because that game yesterday got ugly in a hurry. And definitely True Touch wants to revenge himself, not just from last week, but also from yesterday with his second revive. But
Yeah.
the
Or the
pylon
last
block
week,
really
you
did.
mean?
Yeah, last week I can't even remember. Did DeWalt knock him out? I mean, it's probably did because DeWalt killed everybody.
Yeah, it was the
DeWalt
wall. He
revived
basically
himself
killed everyone.
and then killed
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
So definitely True Touch wants to get a bit of revenge here. The
Yeah,
pylon
man.
block at the natural actually didn't punish True Touch at all because he still ended up building the hatch at the nat, despite having a drone at top middle. Looks like we are ready to go. So all I'm looking for right now is I always have my eyes set on that gas of Zerg. It is the 230 mark, which means gas should be coming down pretty soon, and there it goes. 235 gas as expected. Looks like Lair coming in for True Touch most likely.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's interesting because the thing is he's getting his gas before his third hatchery, which to me usually is more indicative of wanting to get that link speed up, and it makes a lot of sense against gateway expand because once you get the link speed up, you completely shut down a lot of the zealot pressure early game, and the oh, is he gonna get these
We
two
in
links
here.
first?
Those Lings are
Oh,
gonna
but
get into the main.
he didn't
Oh
even
no, they're
go for the
not.
main. That was really weird.
The Zealots sheriff that and said, "You will not get in here." Well, as I say that now, they're gonna get in
Oh, but
unless
the
the
probe's
probe
got.
has anything to say about it.
Oh my god, these earnings are all in one-shot territory, even from probes. That was really weird, but True Touch actually finally gets up that ramp. I was wondering if maybe he didn't want to sacrifice those lings. Oh, but he
Uh
actually
oh.
is routing more lings. So this is going to be massive, actually, for True Touch. He's getting 5 lings up, and this is, it's really hard sometimes for Protoss when you're doing this one-gate build because there's a timing where you don't have that full wall up, and you only have a couple Zealots defending your front, especially if you go Nexus before Forge, as you should, because otherwise you're behind on the economy significantly. He gets 1 probe, which is massive. But there's always a small window of opportunity here for Zerg to do exactly just this. Now, I don't know behind this. I mean, I would imagine once you get the lings up the ramp that you went speed before Lair. Now, there's a time right now. It's very possible that True Touch got both speed and Lair. So I'm imagining speed is coming up. Really, you don't want to lose these lings though. He does get more probes, which is obviously good for him. But in the long run, you want to keep these lings up alive as long as possible, especially if you're getting ling speed behind this. And you can see this is the annoyance about running lings into the Protoss base is that you don't have lings to defend at your base. And as Zerg, you obviously want to be droning in this time. So Oyaji gets a Zealot into True Touch's base. I don't know if it did much damage. It looks like he actually cleaned it up, but it forces a couple more lings. And again, True Touch made early lings to do this run by. So it's not like True Touch's economy. And the thing is, you have to remember, True Touch also decided to go for that quick lair. So it's not like his economy is stellar getting that Spire up. But the thing is, his tech is much faster than Oyaji's. And this allows him, I mean, I feel like he's going to go for mutas in this situation. Oyaji's still running some Zealots across the map, making sure that True Touch doesn't drone up too heavily. But the thing is, he's only running 1 Zealot at a time. So True Touch really can just use these same 5 links to defend against every Zealot if he gets really good fights over and over. And Oyaji's not even interested in trading with these links. He's just going straight for the drones. So that's going to be a huge misstep because True Touch, instead of having to make lings, he's been droning this whole time because he's getting such good trades on these Zealots. And he also has the Spire coming, and you can see now Oyaji just now getting his second gas. I think True Touch spotted that the Stargate is actually quite delayed, and there's a really huge timing timing window for True Touch to get Mutalisks and do some serious damage, but it doesn't look like he's doing that. Yeah, I don't know.
I actually think that this is Mutus because he just spent all of his gas. You don't necessarily need
Yeah, yeah,
gas at your nat to build a lot of Mutas. You just need 5 to start one-shotting the
yeah.
probes, and he sees how delayed the Stargate is. And True or Oyaji still doesn't know if it's Mutus or not. I think he assumes that it's Mutus simply because the Ling sees everything. So he has to respect that. He puts down a cannon in his main that delays, gates coming up. It delays more zealots coming out. Any pressure that he could put back onto True Touch is delayed. So here come those first few mutas. They're definitely just going to sit over the ledge at the natural and pop down some probes. There's just really not a great area to put cannons there, just like there's not a great spot to put cannons down on Sylphin. Even going to catch these zealots. And luckily for Oyaji, I'm going to say, is he's going to lose zealots instead of losing his mineral line because there was no cannon, and the cannon is still not done.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally get that decision from True Touch. The thing is, you don't want those zealots to just walk across the map and kill your drones because obviously behind this he's droning. But that bought some time for Oyaji's cannon at the natural, but only now does it finish warping in after he basically lost 4 to 5 probes. And, it's going to be interesting here to see if True Touch commits to making more Mutalisks. I have a suspicion here that he's not because obviously he didn't get that second gas, so he's only going to make just the appropriate amount of Mutalisks to one-shot probes, and killing a lot of probes. This is huge economic damage coming from True Touch. Loses finally one of the Mutalisks, so can no longer one-shot probes, and that's going to really hamper his his capacity to actually kill probes. But that's a lot of damage, and that's only for 5 Mutalisks. Behind this, you can see True Touch getting up to 6 hatcheries. His Hydra then finished, his second gas finished. So he's going to start macroing up. And I mean, just look at his saturation. He has saturation all over the place. Already getting his third gas at his third base, which I think is a bit early because, you don't need that much gas. You really want the more minerals for, supporting these hatcheries. He's going to have to put down some Sunkens as well, presumably. But the thing is, everything's so fast, he might be able to just defend with Hydralisks against the Zealot push. You can see he's obviously getting Hydralisk upgrades. So, actually maybe that third gas makes sense because look at his, his minerals are really high up there. And Oyaji, finally, his Zealots finish leg speed, and he has 3 Corsairs. But the thing is, 3 Corsairs is not enough to actually snipe Scourge. And because they can't snipe Scourge, they can't actually cover these Zealots from getting shot down by the Mutalisk. So, kind of interesting attack. I mean, Oyaji has to make something happen because Zerg is kind of booming in their economy. But I mean, what can he do? Just True Touch has so much stuff already.
Yeah, True Touch already has 6 hats completed. He's already got full saturation across all of his bases, even having the gas at his third base. 3 zealots get into the nat and the main. Now he's finding some drone kills, but at this point, it's still not going to be enough. Supplies are even at 70 supply. We know that Oyaji's follow-up attack is going to be really delayed. It would be different if there was a follow-up punch after this. But because the gates are so delayed, there is no secondary punch just yet. And even though True Touch loses a couple more drones there, overall, not really impactful into his overall game. We do see the first couple Templars have come out, so they're going to be banking energy. And I actually think Oyaji's doing a good job here. He didn't build a lot of cannons at his entrance, so he didn't really overreact to like potential Ling Mutabus or something like that. So for now, he's going to be able to streamline, get out a decent amount of units, but you know that the Hydra count is going to be building, and it will be coming pretty soon. The question is does he have enough defense for when that actually comes?
Yeah, but it looks like True Touch actually is just looking to take a 4th
Goons
base.
already.
Yeah, well, I like this actually from Oyaji. I think just in general, when Protoss can get into the Dragoon count, the thing is, Zealots early game are really there to just kind of like allow you to survive, especially against a bunch of Hydras. It allows you to bank up some gas so you can get some Templar. But if you can get away with making Dragoons and not die and kind of build your deathball early, as I say this, 4 Corsairs, you don't want these guys to get as the connection comes in, you don't want to lose the Corsairs for free, though honestly these Corsairs, I mean, they're going to supplement the push at some point. You're going to have Dragoon Corsair just to defend your Templar. But overall, it's nice that he's going into Dragoon production so early. it's definitely a plus for the Protoss player if he can get away with making Dragoons without dying. But the problem is, as you were saying, True Touch getting his Hydralisk count up, but it doesn't look like he's going to be aggressive with them because he took this 4th base. So I think True Touch is actually just going to be defensive here. And that means that Oyaji is not going to die, and it means that getting Dragoons early is really good. So, you know, Oyaji is going to have pretty good timing here. And the thing is, True Touch is kind of throwing away these air units. He's not really killing any Templar and just getting some damage on to the goons, but barely. And it doesn't really matter. He's just buying time for his saturation to kick in, and then he's going to have a massive amount of Hydralisks. But the one thing I do worry for True Touch about is that he doesn't have any lurkers yet. And so, yeah, he's going to have a lot of Hydralisks. And again, we've spoken about this, how Zerg macro can be extremely scary. But the thing is, Oyaji is already kind of building to that death ball push of Dragoon High Templar mid game. Now, the only problem is he only has 6 gateways. So the follow-up reinforcements and just his overall army is not going to be that huge. But he does have 1/1 upgrades to only the 1 range upgrade of True Touch. So Naokin, I think Oyaji has a real shot here with this push. I mean, True Touch doesn't even have lurkers yet.
Yeah, and with, first off, I don't even know how that one Sarah survived. Like, they were just dealing with so many mutas and dealing with Scourge. Oyaji microed his heart out to save them, and now True Touch doesn't have any mutalisks left. That means that these Templars are not going to be easy pickings. We already saw what he did to Striker with a couple of those storms, like that one right there. It's a lot of Hydras, and with this many goons, he can fight Hydras just straight up. So I am kind of a little bit worried that maybe True Touch overpowered. There's no lurkers, as you said, and now it's just pure Hydra. He does have to be careful with his storm, so that's another good one.
6 storms from Oyaji, and the thing is, True Touch tried to go for some snipes, but didn't get the Templar, and Oyaji actually has so many storms left over, still destroying the Hydralisk count with just the 1 spell, which is absolutely insanely strong. And Oyaji pushing here, again, the early Dragoon production kind of paying off for itself. Look at how many Dragoons he has, and True Touch just has pure Hydra, which isn't going to do well against this type of composition. You really need kind of that backbone, lurkers, and sometimes even lings thrown in just to soak up some damage. But I mean, Oyaji, the thing is though, if Oyaji runs out of storm, there's and I mean, True Touch has a huge amount of production behind this. If Oyaji runs out of storm, there's a real possibility that he gets run over here. But the thing is, if he hits the storms here, and True Touch is running out of time, I mean, his natural is getting sieged down. Finally, True Touch coming in from the side, committing to an attack. This is really good for True Touch. We don't see any storms going off, and True Touch actually sniped a couple Templars. So slowly but surely, Oyaji's forces kind of getting whittled down, but you can see Oyaji actually expanding behind this. So it's not going to be the end of the world if he doesn't lose, or if he doesn't win the game here.
Well, the attack to the natural was actually a bad move from Oyaji. He didn't know about top left. There were no Sunkens there at the time. He could have knocked that down. Sure, it's not a lot of production there. That's a lot of econ coming in. But behind this, Oyaji's taken 4 bases. So while he's doing this, if he recognizes, like, hey, I don't have enough AoE now, he should consider backing off. He lost all of his Templars. If the Hydra goes down, now he has no more production. Oh, he has one in the main. He's got a backup. But I think True Touch kind of overpowered because we see 2 macro hatches in his main. And look at these Zels trade so effectively versus these rallied Hydras and Link. There's Archon in the back. He supply blocked Mihai. Like, what is going on? He supply blocked, mega supply blocked, like multiple overlords. This is it. I think Oyaji just busted through.
Yeah, I don't know how he did it, man. Oyaji kind of rallying more units here. The thing is, he has a bunch of gateways now that he has his 3rd and 4th base going. So he can just rally Zealots. And the Dragoon count now is still whittled down, but it was healthy for such a long time that he doesn't have any storms left, though. So if True Touch can somehow manage to consolidate his forces, the only thing is he just is losing units over and over here and desperately trying to defend this natural, because obviously if the natural goes down, his economy is completely in tatters. But it looks like Oyaji has done it, man. I mean, a bunch of overlords just popped. Finally, he can get back into the production, but lost his natural. And the thing is, you haven't seen any units rallied across. There we go. Finally, Oyaji, I wasn't seeing any units coming to reinforce, so he must have built up the unit count at his base, and now finally he's gonna join these extra units as you see them rallying across the map. And True Touch, yeah, I just have no idea how he's gonna hang on to the second wave.
Yeah, so doubling in supply now. Oyaji still doesn't know about top left, but if he did, he needs to kind of, I think, well, Econ is not good for True Touch anymore, even though he has all these drones saving that. Oh man, there's nothing at the third base. There's one sunken and just a couple lings, and he's got Storm here, so he can say, "See ya, drones."
Yeah, big storms. Oh, they kind of missed the mark, so the drones don't get killed. But I mean, it doesn't matter. There's no units here to defend this base, so those zealots are going to start picking off the drones. I mean, the
Oh,
storm style points at this point, and True Touch GG's out. So, damn, man, that's really impressive. Oyaji taking down True Touch. Is Oya the new DeWalt? I mean, if DeWalt is on vacation, you just got to call up this guy, and he's going to slam up the Race Wars, taking down True Touch, Kare, Striker, Cryok, and now True Touch again. Yeah, really impressed with his game today.
yeah. So Oya takes down True Touch. That means no more revives for Zerg. Zeki's the last one, and if he's down, he's gone. And the way Oya is playing, remember in the early stages, he lost like 4 probes to Lings. Then Mutas came in, killed like infinity probes, lost the Goon too, lost all of his Sares. Apparently that doesn't matter. Protoss just plows through with Mass Goon.
Yeah, man, True Touch was so far ahead of that game, but I do like you said, you pointed out, wow, he's already making Dragoons. I mean, if Protoss can get away with making Dragoons that early, doesn't have to worry about getting Hydra busted, doesn't have to worry about taking their third, then suddenly their big push comes that much faster, because really it's just relying on building up to that 1 control group and a half to 2 control groups of Dragoons and a couple Templar. So once you get that Goon count rolling, they just start killing everything. What's interesting compared to like the Snow game yesterday? We saw Snow just kind of make 4 Templar super early on and didn't even like use them until basically they banked up 2 storms each, and then finally that was for the main push that he did. So I think Oyaji could still draw some inspiration from something like that. Instead of going straight for the Dragoons, maybe pop out a couple Templar first, so that you bank up that storm energy. But obviously he was getting harassed by Mutalisks, so I kind of understand going for the Dragoons overall. And it was really good. Just going for Dragoons right away allowed him to build up that big force. And True Touch kind of just didn't macro. I don't know what happened, man, but he just wasn't ready for the push, and then he got completely smashed. So really impressed, because True Touch had a significant lead. Remember, I mean, he made those 5 Mutalisks that just killed like a bunch of probes, and he had his 4th base, his 6th hatchery going way before Oya had anything on his side of the map. So anyway, again, impressive victory there from Oyaji. Probably his most impressive victory today, because he was so far behind, I think. But now he's going to have to play Vadi on Reap the Storm.
Yeah, so next map is going to be Reap the Storm. It is Oya versus Vadi. We are waiting for Oyaji to join the game. But I noticed that Vadi is in IRK too. So you would assume that they've played against each other quite a bit. So maybe Vadi has some insights into how Oyaji plays. When I play Oyaji, it's always like, what the heck is this guy doing? But maybe when you've played him enough, you can kind of figure out what kind of things he likes to opt for. I see that Oyaji has left the channel, so that we should be getting into that game any moment now. So this game, like I said, I've never played Vadi, never seen him play, but I imagine that this should be a close matchup.
Vadi's good, man. I mean, his TVT. I've played Kare and Vadi. I mean, I don't want to, I think they're probably both in the same ballpark of skill. I think Vadi is probably a bit better than Kare right now. Kare has been inactive as far as I know. You mentioned it. I think I read some of it in the chat. And just from playing ladder, I haven't seen Kare prior to a couple of weeks ago. So I think in general, Vadi might be kind of just a more in shape version of Kare. And I think in general, Vadi is a strong player. And I think both players are strong and they have room to improve. So I'm not trying to pigeonhole them into anything, but I think they're both kind of the future of the Terran race as far as the non-Korean scene goes right now. And it's gonna be I'm actually excited to watch Vadi play, because his TVT is good, and I haven't seen him play TVP or TVC, so this should be a really good game.
Yeah, so I think we're ready for this matchup. So if we are, let's get into Reap the Storm, Oya versus Vadi. Oya might single-handedly wipe out two teams. Like,
Yeah.
this is the last player from Terran. It doesn't. They still have one life after this, but he'll have gone through the entire list of Terran if he takes out Vadi here. And then he's going to face Ziki, and if he takes out Ziki, I feel like his chances of going the distance are very, very high. So we do have no forward gate this time, just pylon in the main for Oyaji. He is mid left. Meanwhile, Vadi top right, very fast scout from Oyaji. So, and I
Yeah.
don't, yeah, no gas from Vadi. So he's actually cut an SCV there to make sure he gets the gas on time. So that's painful. And he has an SCV pulled off so he doesn't get pylon blocked. So already this probe dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that Protoss sometimes just gets the first scout early enough that you have to basically cut an SCV just to make sure that you don't get gas stolen, but that's not the biggest deal. And the thing is, Oya being really annoying as we saw his probe be
That's a
against
dead
Kare.
SCV, man. I
Is
can
he?
smell it.
I don't know, man.
It's at 30 health.
The gas finishes though, so he gets to hide inside that building. But yeah, this is some sick microphone, dude. If he gets this
Dude.
SCV,
Okay. He's not out of the woodworks yet. That probe, look at him shark around. You know he's coming back for more.
yeah, just darting around the middle line.
He's trying to size him up. Look at him. He just loops around the refinery. He's like, I know where you're at. Oh, got him. That's the best feeling as Terran when you snipe a probe like that. It's like, oh my gosh, you are so cocky with that probe. And now he does punish Oyaji a little bit there. So Vadi with a nice catch. Now, because I don't know Vadi's style, sometimes when you're playing somebody like Artosis here, this could actually be a big thing to catch the probe because you could potentially put SCVs back onto gas. But I see Vadi not putting SCVs back onto gas. So this is not going to be like a 2-fact follow-up, but Zealot's already here. That might be another dead SCV.
Yeah, the Zealot follow-up is nice because, like you said, the probe actually died too early there.
He's trying to find it.
Yeah, Body with some sick micro actually. Oya gets one SCV, but that is way worth it for Body. Just one SCV for one Zealot. I will take that trade any day of the week, and he only really got one shot off on one of the Marines. So look, Body recognizes that he took very little damage from it, and he could just take. Oh, but I think there's a second Zealot coming up here. So Oyaji always super aggressive with these Zealots. I would like to see. The thing is, these Marines are kind of caught off. He really needs to just split them. You can't run the two Marines together because, again, it's 2 versus 1. And if the Zealot is chasing both Marines, he's being ultra double efficient. But unfortunately, this Zealot is going to do way more damage than it should. And Vadi also going for that machine shop. And I understand this decision in general because you want to get a tank out for the Dragoon. But you have to realize that if you get the Vulture out and you kill the Zealot without taking too much damage onto your Marines plus Vulture do just fine at defending the Dragoon. And then you have that Vulture to pressure the Protoss player with. You can just run the Vulture out on the map. And then suddenly Protoss has to worry about a Vulture counterattacking them. So I don't think this tank is always really good. As we see in Oyaji's base, cutting gas, going for that Nexus. So again, Oyaji always opens up with some gate pressure, some Zealot pressure, and then goes into the standard style. This game only went for 2 Zealots, so not too committed, but they didn't really do as much damage as I think he was hoping them to do.
Well, he actually did mega damage because look at that supply for Body. I don't even know if he's noticed, but he's okay. There it goes. He was supply blocked the entirety of that, so you can see that all of a sudden Oyaji's up almost 10 supply, even though he lost a couple of Zealots. Now, what I want to know is, how is it that the Zealot always catches the Marine when they're like the same speed? That's my question. They just always seem to catch up and just jab and sucker punch the Marine to death. Now, another SCV is going out for Oyaji, and this is like the 3rd or 4th SCV that I've seen him send out. So this is actually a lot of lost mining time for him. Now, versus someone like Oyaji, of course, you got to know what he's doing because he can do anything. And it looks like he might actually double expand down to the bottom, but that might actually be a pylon, so not too sure just yet. But meanwhile, 3 goons ranging the bunker. Siege mode comes in. Vadi had to go for that to kind of just fend this off. But from Protos's perspective, I imagine as soon as you see Siege, a lot of the times you're thinking like, well, that's a big expensive upgrade. That could have been a factory. So I'm pretty confident I'm not going to be hit with the timing. So you see that it actually is a probe at bottom left. And if he just builds a Nexus, there's really nothing that Terran can do about it except that SCP blocks it with the depot.
Yeah, that's really nice from Body. Actually, he gets a spot that Oyaji had a probe there. And like you were saying, Nayokin, like this siege mode upgrade, it's really nice for Oyaji to see because he knows nothing's gonna come his way. But the thing is, does he have any idea that this starport is going to come? I mean, this starport is really weird from Body, kind of a really weird time because remember he probably got the starport after siege mode, which means it's really much later than usual, and he doesn't have any vultures pre-built, so cancels that depot, doesn't lose any minerals on that, and finally he gets a couple vultures out, but he's not going to have both upgrades on the vultures, so it's either going to be speed, it's either going to be mines, and that's a bit more manageable for the Protoss. But I think this dropship might actually completely block. It's hard to say because see, this is the problem with getting the starport so late, is that the later you get it, the more time Protoss has to spot it with the observer, and this observer is not the fastest observer, but it's going to get there in time to see the starport at least before the dropship connects. Now, is he going to have units? Because we're going to see a lot of Protoss players are really aggro usually against this type of siege mode. They keep their units out on the map because it forces, the Terran can't just push out with vultures as easily. So he won't have many units. Okay, as I say that, he actually has a couple of Dragoons in his main to defend, but it's only 2 Dragoons, and he actually catches the dropship with the observer, so he knows this is coming.
Oh no, he might actually catch the dropship with his goons too. That's gonna I don't think he's actually gonna kill it because he got it a little bit too early. But regardless, drop did no damage. Siege was already shown. Starport already built. Those are expensive buildings for Terran to build in the early stages, and to get no damage. Actually would have liked for him to go low ground, despite there being goons. That's irrelevant. In this particular game, yes, goons are there, but go low ground. You knew that Protoss was taking a third base. You could have potentially ran vultures there, and it's unlikely that defense was there. So I think that would have been the move to do. And that is what he's doing with the vultures now. And he's loading up the drop again. So now a double pronged attack. He's going to intercept a couple of these probes, and he's got to focus them down though.
Yeah, that's some sick attack from Body. Actually, just nice multitask using that group of vultures on the southern side of the map. Meanwhile, northern side of the map, running the dropship in. We saw that the Dragoons got some shots off, but I don't think Oyaji was paying attention to the minimap. So this dropship actually gets into the base. It's only unloading 2 vultures, and there's only 2 Dragoons there to defend, so they can't really just instantly snipe these vultures. But vultures trying to find some mines instead of going straight for the probe line. But you can see, look at how many probes Oyaji made. I mean, it's like he knew he was going to get harassed. I'm just going to pre-build probes, oversaturate my mineral lines, and it doesn't matter if you do some harassment because, my economy is just going to be intact despite losing workers. So I think Oyaji it kind of definitely overmade probes this game. And look at Body just going for that 2 base play. I think a lot of these foreigners, a lot of these non-Korean European Terrans, they really kind of do prefer playing these high factory count 2 base games. Now he might still take a 3rd base off of this. Personally, on this map, Nayokin, I think the best 3rd base to take, as it might seem like the mineral only is really nice because like you have the high ground the whole way through. You can just push and hold ramps, and it's kind of hard for the product, and it keeps your base kind of compact to one side of the map. But personally, I think the correct expansion pattern on this map is to get the gas bases one after the other. 3rd base at the one gas, 4th base at the other one. But it looks like Body is kind of setting himself up for that mineral only.
You see that cannon? Why is it there?
Yeah.
They just shot a vulture down to death. I don't know how that's possible. It's just randomly sitting there. But I think Vadi's build has just been disrupted too much. So he kind of panicked, put down double armory, put down 6 factories. He's gonna just go for like the Han Bang attack here.
Yeah.
He's trying to get some damage done with the vultures. There's no observer, so actually very lucky to avoid all these mines for now. But again, it's going to be a 7-fact play. He's all in as heck. He's even got Starport too. So very expensive buildings to go down while doing a push. But Oyaji, as you mentioned, has done a really good job to just keep his probe count up. So his econ is actually really, really good this game, as opposed to the game on Bubbles where he kind of stopped building probes at one point. So I think when Adi moves down here and tries to actually fight, there's just going to be an overwhelming amount of units. Now, I'm constantly looking at the gas for him. He needs to start building up that tank count. He's only at like 6 or 7 tanks right now. Drop is down here too, so he may actually be able to scoot around the outskirts and find some success into the third base. He's constantly moving. Wow, he's going to attack at the same time while vultures go down. So this might be a good move from Vadi.
Yeah, I really like this from Vadi, but the thing is, I think he overextended with those tanks. There's so many goons just running, and the thing is, these tanks are shooting uphill, and when they shoot uphill, they lose a massive amount of damage, and you can see the Dragoons, even though it's pure Dragoons, the one Zealot kind of randomly coming in after the fact, after the crime has already been committed. The high ground is just so strong when the Dragoons have it, but Vadi with a sick kind of counter drop here, and I like this play where you load up tanks into the dropships and you run vultures around to support the drop is going to do massive damage, completely kind of negating this base from Oyaji rather. So now Oyaji functionally only on 2 base mining for a bit. As more vultures come to reinforce this position, this is going to be really hard actually for Oyaji to do anything about it, because, you know, Vadi is just going to put down a bunch of mines. There are no shuttles, there's no arbiter. He's going to have to commit a lot of units, and the thing is, Oyaji, you can see he's looking for a counterattack, but Vadi is staying on 2 base, so there's nothing to counter for the Protoss player. The only thing is that Vadi lost so many tanks for free, and the thing is, when you lose that many tanks, as he loses 2 more, finally, Oyaji cleaning up this attack. When you're on 2 base like this, you cannot afford to lose tanks, because it just destroys your push.
Uh-oh, now, okay. Probes do avoid the mines. I was waiting for a big mine explosion. Oh, vultures catch another probe transfer. And this is actually decimating Oyaji's econ. And for a second, I thought that potentially a Vadi might have done it, because there's no observer in these armies. So every single time units come down, they're losing their lives. But now Vadi is actually going to get punished a little bit here, because he's going to lose a ton of vultures for this trade. And with 4 Nexus, even though he's killed so many probes, he can replenish it somewhat quickly. But look at the supplies, 124 to 100. That's not the end of the world for Terran. But again, tank count is extremely low, simply because he lost those 8 or 9 tanks with the initial attack. But he is building up quite a sizable army. Another drop going to the top side, but he desperately needs a command center at this point. If Oyaji stabilizes, it's going to be 4 base versus basically 1, because Terran's going to mine out in their main pretty soon.
Yeah, and Vadi just made a bunch of Goliaths, and I mean, you do need some Goliaths against the Arbiters, but again, the thing is, I thought Vadi was doing a really good job with these Vultures, buying a lot of time for him to build up his tank count back up, but it just seems like Vadi, he's still making drops, he's making a bunch of Goliaths, he's making everything but tanks, and like you said, Nyokin, his tank count is still quite, I mean, it's pathetic. This is 4 tanks attacking right now. I mean, the thing is, he did a lot of damage, so Protoss doesn't have nearly as much things as he could, and if he sets down some mines and gets some nice siege positioning here, but there are no mines, and Oyaji's actually going, he's gonna get the Arbiter for free, but the thing is, Oyaji has so many units, but again, this is signature Oyaji, mass Dragoon, no Zealots. Is it gonna be enough? It looks like he has too many units, but these Terran units are definitely getting some good trades.
Yeah, he's trading about as well as possible, but there's just simply too much Protoss. He did really good harassment. I think the last harassment he just did with those 10 vultures, if he actually had them in that fight, I think he might have actually busted through despite only having 5 tanks, because he picked off that Arbiter, not able to get a stasis. So a bit of a misstep there, and now the supplies do swing in Oyaji's favor, but again, he's got to be careful moving up ramps like this. This time not going to get punished by any mines, And again, lack of tanks, but that's going to be a big mine explosion right there. Oh, it looks like it actually gets taken out. And I think this is just too much Oyaji. Probably going to take out Body right here. Good mine drag eliminates that tank. And with the last tank falling, I don't see how Body can stop it. And he can't. GG coming out from Body. So Oyaji says goodbye, Terrans. They're on to their last life. It's a revive. He's killed all three of them. Every single one of the Terrans have fallen to Oyaji. And now all that's left is Zeke. If he takes out Zeke, he takes out the entire Zerg squad, and then he has one game after that. And just based on how he's playing versus Terran today, it doesn't seem like anybody can stop him.
Yeah, can anyone stop this guy? Man, like, and I think like race wars, maybe we should just consider having 4 races, and we just put a bunch of, we just separate Protoss into 2 groups because it looks like the only the only players capable of doing anything against DeWalt, now Oya. I mean, I can imagine Bonnet doing the same thing today. Or the Protoss players themselves. Maybe we need Protoss players to take out Protoss players because the other 2 races are clearly failing at it. Both, both, both weeks actually. Now Siki last week went on a tear himself. He got as many kills almost as DeWalt, I think. Just narrowly kind of missing out at the end where DeWalt kind of finished up the race wars. But I think if there's someone on this lineup that can kind of salvage the dominating streak from Oya, it's definitely Siki.
Yeah, Zeke last week was the only person that could stop the Walt. So if anybody's going to do it, you got to put your money on Zeke here. So our next map is going to be Optimizer. It is going to be Oyaji versus Zeke. This is last life for Zerg. Once Zeke's gone, they're done. And then all that's left is one Terran player, whoever the revive is. With that said, let's get into Oyaji versus Zeke on Optimizer. So in the top right, we have our blue Protoss on the brink of eliminating the Zerg race. It is Oyaji. And in the bottom right, in the red, the last glimmer of hope for Zerg. Let's see if he can do what he did last week. It is Zeke. So even though Zeke, I think, came back recently because I didn't see him in previous BSLs, except for the very last one. Like I didn't see him BSL 8 or 7 or 6. He looked pretty good, and based on what he did yesterday in the Foreign All-Stars games, he looked pretty strong. I think despite how well he did last week, I'm going to favor him a little bit just simply because his macro looked so good. But Oyaji, he's just playing so well today, and Optimizer is a really weird map. You don't know how much experience players like Zeke are going to have on here, or Oyaji, really. So I wonder if Oyaji has played this map quite a bit. Does he have something special planned? Because in my mind, if I'm just going to guess at what Zeke's going to go for, he seems to be all about the macro. Like we saw in the ZVT game yesterday, 3 hatch. In the one ZVP or couple ZVPs that I've seen of him, it's always like 5 or 6 hatch Hydra. So I don't think there's going to be anything unorthodox coming out from Zeke.
Yeah, I mean, Optimizer is definitely an interesting map. We spoke about this a bit last week, but you have the kind of extra minerals, extra gas at your main and your natural to kind of boost your builds. But it's specifically on these positions, they're both going to essentially be competing for this mid-right base once the minerals at the ramp get mined out. This extra pathway is going to be really interesting. I have no idea how it plays out in this matchup. Looks like Oyaji going for that 11 Nexus, which on this map makes a lot of sense because getting that second base, you really want to play a more macro. This map definitely rewards strong macro play if you manage your build just right, as opposed to more aggro play. And I think it's definitely a map that, if I were to play Protoss vs Zerg, I'd feel very comfortable on this map. But this this X factor on this position is going to be that 3 o'clock base and kind of the pathway between Oyaji's natural and Siki's natural on the right side once that ramp opens up.
I'm so sad that those are not Lings because I think Oyaji was actually in trouble because the Overlord did spot the Nexus and then didn't go for the Lings. So that feels like if he had a gone 6 lings, we're gonna
Yeah.
see the timing of the 2 lings narrow just simply from the spawns. Look, it's much faster than Eclipse. He's gonna get there before the cannon is even 90% done. So 6 lings probably just ended the game if he had gone for it. But as played, 2 lings are gonna get by. I think attacking this is a bit of a ambitious move. Yeah, he does just run into the main, but instant probe pull. Okay, actually, it's because the Nexus is coming down. So overall, not a lot of damage done so far, but 2 lings will be super annoying. And Oyaji's got his work cut out for him, but he already dealt with lings earlier versus True Touch, so you know he can do it.
Yeah, the thing is about, I mean, first of all, like you said, Naoki, I think if Siki went for the 6 lings, he would just win the game, but it's really hard. It's a hard call to make because you can also lose the game kind of wrecking your economy like that. So I can respect these 2 lings, and the thing is 2 lings is more than enough to do a lot of damage. You can see already causing a lot of kind of mineral delay or delaying mining in terms of Oyaji having to kind of pull probes and oversaturate one part of the mineral field. So Oyaji so far hasn't lost any probes, but Siki with some sick micro and multitask, keeping his build going and doing a lot of damage here. So definitely going to come out ahead with this Ling run by. And behind it, he just droned massively, and he knows that Oyaji went for that forge. So there's no real threat of a zealot as the first zealot kind of comes in and has to clean up these links. So Siki definitely in a really good spot. Gets one probe. If he gets another probe, that would be massive. But more importantly, I think he just needs to keep these lings alive. So damn, Siki playing exceptionally well right now. I really like the fact that, I mean, he, just playing so well with these lings, man.
Well, let's be honest here with the probe control from Oyaji to only lose one probe
Yeah.
despite constantly getting lings on top of him. He's doing a really good job. And then the drill catches one of them. So really nicely done. He's limited the amount of damage that Ziki can actually do with these lings. And despite having to pull so many probes constantly, I think he took about as small the smallest amount of damage he could possibly take. Now there's 6 lings coming. So this might just be a run by. He does intercept the Zealot. And this, I don't think Oyaji's actually paying attention. So this is probably just a dead Zealot for free.
Yeah, the Zealot, I mean, in a sense, it's doing its job, is
Oh, no.
confirming that Siki got these 6 lings, but obviously Siki got it really early on. And again, I like how Siki goes straight
Oh,
for
no.
mining.
That's a huge gap at the top. Ziki runs by this. This is game over.
Oh, but he
Oh,
pulls the one
lucky
probe just
timing
in
with the
time.
Zealot there.
Yeah,
Ends up getting into position.
Yeah, so Siki doesn't quite get that run by, but I think kind of both players, um, yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to see when the ramp gets mined out there. Oyaji going for that +1 on the cybernetic score, or maybe that could be range on. He doesn't have a Stargate, so it looks like he's going. Does he have a Stargate? No, 3 gates. So this is the identical build that he did against Striker. So he really likes this Dragoon type build. Now Siki has a lot of units, but is he gonna get the Mutalisks that we saw Striker? I'm interested to see how Siki's gonna react to this build if he spots it at all.
Well, he's got the gas for 5 mutas, so you know that's coming. He's
Yeah.
gonna start wiping that probe line at the natural. Meanwhile, 3 zealots did move out, but more lings are being made preemptively to deal with this incoming attack. And with no Stargate, I don't see how you actually deal with the mutas this time. I think Ziki is just gonna be able to shut down the natural bottom side patches easily. Look at this stutter step micro though, dealing
Yeah.
a lot of damage, but now he's just gonna try and get as much damage done possible with the last remaining health on these zealots. May even catch a drone. Really nicely done, but he does see that this looks like lair play, looks like 5-6 hatch hydra. He needs to see that the mutas pop here, and he actually is, so that might save him a little bit, but look how close the spawns are.
Yeah, the spawns by era are going to be huge. The thing is, Oyaji's going to be completely prevented from mining these minerals, which isn't that big of a deal, obviously, but still kind of annoying. He almost mined out those minerals anyway, but the thing is, wow, some sick micro there from Siki, getting a lot of probes, and the cannon actually warps in just in time. And as you see, the cannon kind of warps in, and Siki moves on to the other mineral field. So really good play from Siki, getting so many probes. I mean, he's just ignoring all these Dragoons hitting him, rightfully so, because Dragoons don't actually output that much damage onto Mutalisks, especially in low numbers. So killed a lot of probes, but Oyaji actually has so many so many workers just in general. His worker production is off the charts. The thing is though, as we were kind of just looking at Siki killing probes, the reality is he does scout that there's a lot of Dragoons, no Stargate. He knows what's coming in. He saw the gateway count, so he's gonna prepare himself for this big Dragoon push. And I'm interested to see what he does differently from Striker. It doesn't look like he's going for that Mutiling. Instead, going for just really a lot of Hydras.
Yeah, he knows what's going to happen. He already probably saw the Striker game, and we know that this is Templar follow-up with the Goons. This is not some type of Zealot Goon Archon combination. So just going into Hydras is the move that you should go for. He still kept a couple of his mutas alive. He needs to produce about 4 more. Or is it 9? I think he needs 9 mutas to one-shot a Templar. So 5 more mutas, and then he can just one-shot all the Templars. And then just the remaining Hydras can easily deal with the Goons. But as I say that, here comes Oyaji, but I think he's a little bit too overzealous with this move out. So many Hydras and mutas just going to shell these Goons, and they get caught!
Yeah, Oyaji overextending a bit. I mean, Siki actually goes for a really aggressive move. Usually you don't have that confidence to just be like, okay, this guy went into a bunch of gates and goons, I'm just going to attack into it. But Siki knows he just has that, he's at that sweet spot where Zerg is just extremely cost efficient in these low numbers before Protoss builds up that big ball. And that's going to delay Oyaji's attack. He lost a couple Dragoons. And only now adding another forge, so he's not gonna have some crazy upgrades. He has +1. He's gonna lose this +1 armor upgrade though, which is gonna be pretty massive at the front. And now you can see Siki going into full-fledged Hydralisk production. I would imagine he might be getting lurkers behind this. It looks like he has the thing is, he doesn't have a third gas yet. He's not using a third gas at his main, so kind of interesting. I think he's just gonna stay on Hydralisk production here and trying to overwhelm Oyaji, which is a correct decision just in general, I feel like. But the thing is, man, if Protoss gets to that ball, it's always scary, and it always depends on how well the storms land.
Yeah, but Ziki's doing a good job to pick off any straggler goons that he sees, and because this is Optimizer with weird spawns, there's not just a hole at the entrance to his base, there's also a hole down at the bottom side of his nexus, so he picks off another goon for free. Hydras are coming through the bottom, and there's really skimpy defense there. You can see that Oyaji's got to turn around. Now he's probably going to get off a beautiful storm here, but I think this just buys Ziki time to get more and more Hydras that potentially start getting lurkers too. Zealots trade decently well with the cannon, so that is going to get shut down, but all Ziki needs is time. Once he reaches critical mass, I don't think there's really anything that Oyaji can do about it.
Yeah, but Siki kind of donating that group of Hydralisks that didn't really do much, just pulled the Protoss back. But I mean, Protoss is going to take these trades because the thing is, if you take every good trade you take with your army where you're killing Zerg units and your army doesn't lose any units, is one step closer to completing that big Protoss snowball. So suddenly where they were basically even on supply 30 seconds ago, now Oyaji kind of pulling ahead slightly, and the more he pulls ahead, the more cost efficient this ball becomes. But Siki finishes the lurker tech upgrade just in time for this push. Now it's a bit weird on this map, where do you set up your lurkers? I feel like this is probably the best spot. Protoss has to come through here to attack. Nice storms connecting, but the thing is, only one storm's not going to be enough to kill the Hydras. A lot of low Hydras, but when they don't die, they're outputting the damage. So really nicely played from Siki, and just in general, Siki plays as he goes in. If he gets this Templar snipe, he doesn't even care. He knows the Templar doesn't have a storm. He's going for more Dragoon kills, which is nice, but he can't lose too many Hydralisks. Again, he can't lose too many units in general because you don't want the Protoss to get that much stronger. But I really like in general how Siki plays. You can tell he's very calm. Just when he goes for those small maneuvers, he snipes straggling units, he goes for counterattacks, just playing a really solid game. At this point, he just needs to, I mean, this is really hard to play as Zerg, because if you take the fights, if you take them wrong, you die. But at the same time, you can't just A move your units across the map. Even if Siki's in a good spot in an advantageous position in terms of his economy and stuff, he can't just outright win the game. And it's unclear how to attack into Protoss in general unless you make a bunch of Mutas and snipe the Templar. So it's going to be tricky for both players for sure. But, I mean, Oyaji going for that third base. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a pretty even game. Oh, I like this.
We saw this yesterday with the Wiko drop getting 23 probe kills. And I'm just having flashbacks that while this Hydra runs in and snipes a goon, he runs into the third base and burrows and gets a massive amount of probe kills. But luckily, there's already a Templar in position. There's multiple cannons set up too, so I don't think that's actually going to happen. And the thing that I'm most worried about for Oyaji at this point is I don't think in any of the PVZs I ever saw an observer, and I still don't see an observer. So if Ziki was to initiate a fight right now, I think there's a lack of detection that could actually seal the deal for a victory for him. But Ziki is just playing it passive. He's just taking more bases. I think I saw a drone going to bottom left, but right now I don't see it anymore. Double Storm kills a lot of Hydras, so I don't know if that trade was actually worth, but nice defense so far from Oyaji. He did go 2-0, so he's not at 2-1 just yet. He's not into the double forge upgrades, I don't think. But Optimizer is a map where it seems like once you get a bit of map control, you can easily go from 2 base up to 3-4 base. So 4 gas Protoss, that's a scary army to fight.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, you can see when Zerg has to get into that position of attacking, it's a bit more awkward. He's pushing up into Oyaji's side of the map, but Hydra Lurk, not always the most aggressive composition, because again, you have to get a really good positioning on the Lurkers, and when you're going up against the Protoss, they have a huge advantage in terms of selecting their storms, but now Oyaji kind of countering into this ball, but the thing is, nice storm connecting on that one group of Hydras, and he only has 4 Lurkers, 3 Lurkers actually, and Master Goons are going to completely clean this up, so Siki getting overextending, so unfortunate, because, I mean, it's hard to just play in general in ZVP when you have to attack. It's much easier when you're just defending, and he feels the pressure that this third base represents by the Protoss, but kind of just overextending, and finally, now Oyaji, the thing is, doesn't quite have enough here, I don't think, to push through a bunch of Lurkers, but I don't know how many Lurkers Siki has under that Overlord. Looks like 3, but they're all bunched up.
Yeah, it looks like 3, but luckily for him, there's no storms. But still, Goons don't necessarily care about Lurkers. Generally, they don't take a lot of damage. But the Hydras are doing a good job to buffer a lot of the hits. But 30 supply lead for Oyaji now. Now I can see he's constantly streaming across the map. So Goon Man is making a comeback in another PVZ. Oh my gosh, that's so many Hydras, but with lack of storm, I think that's more than enough to push through these. Well, maybe not. The Goons are doing such a good job, but they need support. They are slowly falling.
Oh, this is really close to judge. I have no idea who's going to win this fight. Finally, Zealots reinforcing, which is really good for the Protoss player. These Zealots are actually going to reinforce the composition and be strong enough against these Hydralisks. But honestly, Siki did a lot of damage there, kind of cutting the Dragoon count down. Dragoons are way harder to replace than anything the Protoss has. You really want to keep them alive, and once your Dragoon count falls, your army composition just does not, it's not as cost efficient as it was. Now he's basically stuck with a bunch of Zealots, and Zealots definitely at this stage in the game aren't that strong when Zerg can make a lot of units. Some more Templar joining the fray, but again, it's only 4 Dragoons now. If Oyaji, if Siki somehow builds up his army supply back up, he's going to be able to kind of clean this these units. But as Zero nicely pointed out, I mean, Siki doesn't even have the hive. He's not even using that that gas at his main, so I mean, he's over gassed anyway. Nice engagement here from Oyaji with some 6 storms, but it's mostly Zealots, and you can see this is what happens when the Protoss's army composition doesn't have enough Dragoons. I mean, you can have overwhelming number of Zealots, but once Lurkers are in play, they kind of negate that and completely true through the Zealots. But I mean, Oyaji's supply lead is massive, man.
Yeah, 50 supply lead for Oyaji. He also saw the transfer, so he knows there's a base on the side of the map. Now he catches some Hydras, and Hydras are not going to do very well versus Zealots. Lurker on Burrow. I think he just has too much. That's a good storm on top of the eggs. That one lurker is dealing so much damage, but he gets on top of it. But he does need to get some more guns, but this might just be too much Oyaji. 50 supply lead. He's got his 4th base up and running. I saw him put down 2 more gates, so he's upwards of 10. He also has 3-1 upgrades versus only 2-0 for the Zerg. Also, no Hive Tech, so no crack, no key upgrade, no defiler, no nothing. But is this an overextension? Here comes the Archon to try and support it, and he's just constantly screaming across the map.
Yeah, I think he's done it, man. I mean, just look at the supply. He's doubling the Zerg supply. He also has a 4th base established, so his economy is not going to run dry anytime soon. Meanwhile, Siki just can't consolidate his troops together, can't ever get kind of that huge Zerg ball that becomes super crazy in its damage output. And Oyaji will just kind of stream Zealots across the map. Now, still some danger for this Protoss ball to get picked apart, but I mean, there's just so many Protoss units, I can't imagine that happening in CKGGs.
So Oyaji takes out the last hope for the Zerg, somebody that got 5 or 4 kills last week, the only person to actually manage to take down the Walt. So a huge win right there from Oyaji, and he said, goodbye, Zerg. Who's next? And the one that's next is whoever gets revived from Terran. We may not even see another Protoss player today. It's just Oya. We saw one Zerg versus Terran, and then Oya said, yeah, we're not going to see that matchup ever again because it's going to be Protoss all day, baby. So let's see who Terran revives. I would actually like to see Vadi because Vadi got put behind a lot in the early stages and almost brought it back. So I'm actually hoping to see a rematch of Vadi versus Oyaji because the harassment was quite impressive.
Yeah.
But let's see who it is actually going to be.
Yeah, Vadi probably has the best chance. At least today, he's had the best chance out of the other Terran players against Oya. And yeah, Oya just going on a massive streak, man. And I think this is also, you have to remember with this format, sure, Oya's played a ridiculous amount of games. And that means 2 things. One is that he's warmed up, right? Like he's playing as well as he can be. Whereas some of these players probably wait around, don't necessarily play because it might be their turn next. So it's not like they can go into a ladder game. I mean, they definitely don't have as many games played. So sometimes, they don't necessarily have that level of warm up. But at the same time, I mean, Oya, when you play this many games, you kind of get tired too. Doesn't look like it's an issue for Oya, though. He's just slapping people left, right, and center. And as we see, Kare is going to be the revived Terran. So Kare probably, the Terran that has played the most games today. So and his game against Oya was actually not too shabby at all. I think if he fixes a couple of things, he would have had some really good chances against Oya. The thing is, man, do you see what map this is?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's Monty Hall. So we are getting into the game right now. Oyaji versus Kare. If Oyaji wins here, he's done it. He's going to be the first person to all kill in the first race wars in the foreign scene, or first 2 race wars in the foreign scene. Let's see if he can do it on Monty Hall. All right, we've got the Terran Hope. This is it. He's in the top left. It is Kare. And in bottom right, I was not expecting this. I thought at some point there was going to be another Protoss, whether it's Favorite or Bonneth, but it's Oyaji. He's just running everybody over. So let's see if he can do it. This is the last game. He's on a 6-game win streak, potentially 7. He also knocked out the Revive. Or no, this will be a knockout of the Revive. So he's gone through both teams and the potential Revive. And already he's up to no good. Look at this. This is what you can do on Monty Hall, is you can glitch the probe through. Now, what does he want to do with it? Is it proxy gates?
Dude, you know what he could do? Maybe he could actually actually, Kare picks the right door, man. He knows he won the prize here. He's gonna see that he's probably gonna spot the. Does he know how to do the jump? I'm assuming he does. Okay, there we go. So you have to keep one mining.
Okay, he makes it.
Yeah, so Kare's gonna spot this. Oh my god, that is massive. Dude, I'm telling you, he won the prize, man. That's like $10,000 right there, man. I don't know if you watch or whatever. No, I'm not going to talk about it. Let's Make a Deal, but that's like but that's like an American show. So I don't think a lot of Europeans know what we're talking about, but he chose the right door, 1, 2, or 3. He's like, yeah, give me that 2, give me that second door. And so he gets to see what Oyaji is doing. Now, I mean, What is this game?
I
I
don't think it's
guess.
going to be a gate. I think Oyaji's actually just faking this because he
Yeah.
knows that SCV can't fight a probe one-on-one. So that's going to force more SCVs. And when he sees this, he's going to be happy because that's 4 SCVs that are not mining for one probe. And that's a dead SCV. I actually think he's going to kill this SCV too, unless another SCV comes out. So this is going to be a proxy pylon followed up by a 12 Nexus, is what it
In the
looks like.
other lane, dude, in the other door, man. Like this map is so insane. I can't believe what I'm watching. It's really the thing is though, like, what is Kare really scared about? Because okay, yeah, it's a proxy gate, but remember, I mean, Oyaji would have to consistently push the Zealot past the mineral line, and that's not always like very reliable. The Marines can get a lot of damage onto it. So I think Kare overreacting a tad bit. I mean, what are you preventing? There's still a mineral line there, kind of forcing the keeping the Protoss out of your base. And if well, I mean, Oyaji could also mine it out if you built a random gas or extractor and then swap the minerals for the gas or something like that. But I can't imagine him doing anything. But at this point, Kare, like, he sees that nothing's being built up by the pylon, so I'm assuming he knows what Oyaji's doing. I think this is pretty telegraphed, pretty obvious play from the Protoss player.
Well,
It wouldn't make sense for him to make a second pylon in his base and make gateways and tech up to, like, I mean, he could maybe tech up to Robo really quick or something like that, but I think he suspects this is 12 Nexus behind this.
yeah, but what's this on the left side? This SCV's dead, man. I told you.
Oh
He's got
my.
2 kills on the probe, and he pulled off 4 SCVs to make it happen.
Oh
And now
no.
he's glitching his own probe inside the base. Now, if this is 12 Nexus into proxy DT, I've seen it all.
No, he's scouting.
Okay, actually, he's just scouting. But
He's
it would have been absolutely barbaric if I saw proxy DT in his base after showing a failed proxy. And no, he got.
What am I watching, man? Oya's just all up in Kari's grill. He sees the other thing that he's seeing is, I mean, it's 2 SCVs on the gas. I don't know if he's paying attention to that. I mean, Kari's for sure feeling the pressure. This map is, I mean, it's really hard to play if you've never played on it, obviously, and I can't imagine Kari has played on it ever. I think this is probably his first game on it. But yeah, it's the thing is, Kare, he has a factory gun.
Get out of there.
Oya's trying to get out, but all right, at least something goes poorly for him, as this whole game has just kind of been in his favor. I can't imagine Kare not building a starport here. It looks like he just dropped down the one starport, so he's gonna get this pylon, and Oyaji doesn't see the starport, but the pylon has technically spotted 2 SCVs on gas this whole time, which, it is a weird number, but it usually kind of means that it's not going to be command center, or if it is, I mean, the Terran is just floating a bunch of gas. But in any case, he knows something is up. Something's not optimal about the build, so it is what it is. But yeah, Kare trying to jump over some Marines here, but it is pretty
Got
tricky.
him.
Yeah, nice.
Got one through. And actually, if I was Oyaji and saw the double gas or the 2 SCVs on gas mining, I'd be a little bit worried because I don't think he saw the starport. And Monty Hall, you can put, factories on the right side, mid, bottom. He does need to be a little bit worried that there could be a proxy factory somewhere. But we see that it is actually a drop. And with Oyaji having already mined out the minerals on the left side of the map, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any issue dealing with the drop on that side. Also, this is what I was waiting to see, is if he's just going to pylon wall that area, and that is what he's going for. And he's going into Robo. Now, the Robo is a little bit too late to spot the drop, but I don't see him really leaving his main with these goons, so I don't see where Kari gets much damage done with this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think this Robo is probably going to be for Reavers. You can see the second gas going really quick, and if that was for observers, though he does put down a third gateway, which is weird if you're going to go for something like Reavers. But the second gas, to me, is indicative of Reavers for sure. And on this map in general, I feel like if you don't know what you're doing as Protoss, if you haven't played it much, okay, Kare is aware that there could be a Reaver follow-up. He doesn't know exactly what's going on. He didn't actually scout the Nexus, so he's actually playing completely blind. I kind of respect I respect the fact that he put a bunch of mines in his base, though now his drop is less scary because he can't just mine up Oyaji's base.
Okay,
But
is it just Oyaji's day? Is he going to intercept this? No. Okay, at least something didn't go favorably for him. So this drop does get it. Oh, no. Did that probe see it? No.
no, no,
That
no.
probe didn't see it either. And actually, Oyaji was blocked for a little bit. So I don't know how many goons he actually has, but Goon sitting here just misses it. So this might be what Kari needs to get into the back into the game. But remember, he used the majority of his mines to defend, I
Yeah.
guess, like Reaver or DP. But 2 probes gone. 3 probes, 4 probes, 5 maybe. Looks like 5 probes are going to go down. Now that's 6 probes actually. So good drop from Kari. But the thing is that it's still 12 Nexus versus 1 base Terran where the command center has just now started. So not the greatest position for Kari to be in. Also, the dropship didn't get sent back, but I don't think Two Goon's going to be able to take. Oh, he might actually lose the drop too. That's an expensive unit to build.
Yeah, honestly, kind of unfortunate. I mean, Kara clearly flustered by the map. A bit of inexperience showing here. He should have used that dropship to at least spot where Oyaji was basically building his base and which lane was he in. This command center definitely should be on site on one of the bases because, I mean, worst case, you just put it on the other side where Protoss has no forces, so you know you're not getting attacked. But he's kind of going to have to float the command center when he's this far behind anyway. It's really terrible for his economy. I mean, absolutely horrendous for his economy. Look at how much space he has to traverse before he gets to land the command center. So that's basically delaying the construction of it, really. And as I was saying, this is interesting from Oyaji. I guess doesn't really matter what Protoss does on this map because Arbiters are also good if you can recall across these 3 lanes. I was going to say, in general, I feel like if you're not too sure what to do on a map like this, I feel like Reavers into Carriers is kind of a catch-all style. It would be really strong on this map, but instead going for those Arbiters. Now the thing is, it's really hard for Protoss to actually attack. It's hard for Protoss to attack on this map before he gets Arbiters, right? Because he's basically going to just be funneling his units into one lane to attack the Terran. Now here, interesting attack from Kare. Probably going to just push out and use this mineral wall as a cover. And Oyaji, I mean, he has way too many units. I think Kare, if Oyaji mines this out, Kare might just lose here, but he's not going to mine it out. So the mineral is providing natural protection. He has to snipe this probe. If he doesn't snipe the probe, oh my god, is it going to be enough for Oyaji to? He has so many goons, and
That's
there's
a
no
huge
mines.
hit.
Oh, but the mines are going down.
Yeah, but if he can drag the mines in the tank, but there's only 2 tanks remaining, but that was a nice
god,
attack.
what's going on, Nyokin?
I think that Kari had a great attack here, but it's just barely not going to be enough. Too much econ for Oyaji. All the tanks fall, but really he traded like legendary there. Like 14 goons went down, 12 goons, and still, despite that trade, Oyaji's still up 30 supply. The power of going 12 Nexus versus a 1 base build where it didn't do as much damage as you actually wanted it to do. So Oyaji, that looked dangerous. If he didn't get the probe pull on that last mineral patch, he would have been in big time trouble. But now here he comes with like 6 or 7 gate production. He's going to catch a few vultures for free. Looks like Oyaji is transferring to mid right. Nexus is already done there. Vulture's trying to run by, but probes are going to block it. Only 1 vulture going to get in, so that's not going to deal very much damage at all. Stargate is about to be done, I think. I thought I saw it building, maybe not. But regardless, 7 gate or 8 gate production for, okay, there we go. There's the Stargate. So it finishes. So Arbiter Tribunal is going to finish pretty soon. Still 30 supply lead for Oyaji. Here comes the factory flood from Kare. I don't blame him for going for a factory flood. Based on how well I just traded right there, I might as well go for a follow-up and see what can happen. But I think it's going to be a little bit too late in this particular game.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard, man. The thing is, yeah, Kare did not get that big position outside of Oyaji's base, and Oyaji, again, going for the style does mean he doesn't have any kind of counterattacking opportunities. He doesn't have shuttles, and it has to just run into the Terran base head on. And now the thing is, they're going to be fighting in this middle lane, which is probably the most open lane. I like how Oyaji in general is playing this out, though. He's expanding in the different lanes from the Terran. Kare kind of opted to go for the center lane, which I think is generally lends itself more to these two base plays, because you're going straight for kind of straight down the middle, straight down into Protos's base, whereas the other lanes have more bases to work with. So personally, I think Terran would have a bias towards expanding to the top side or to the left side. But in this game, he went mid, so he's kind of committed to staying on these two bases and attacking. But Oyaji actually is, well, I mean, that being said, you can also have an expansion. I mean, the thing is on this map, yeah, I feel like you know what, Nayak and I would love to see more games on this map because I feel like there's many ways to play this. I think Terran could also take 3 bases kind of, mid and top or something like that. But anyway, none of that is happening in this game. But I feel like, I'm actually pretty happy to see this map because there's a lot of unexplored potential for sure. But in this particular game, I mean, Kare doesn't have any upgrades. It's 12 minutes. Oyaji is up like 40, 50 supply almost and has Arbiters coming. And I don't think Kare has any vessels coming. Finally, gets shuttled with Templar out, which is interesting. Using some of that gas for that instead of for Arbiters, but also getting the Arbiters. So, I mean, Oyaji is just mega rich, man. He can afford everything he wants. Tech, units, whatever he wants. And now Kare getting caught off.
This is not the engagement that Kare was looking for. He was not expecting units to be there, and even a shuttle flank. We don't even know what's in it, but it's a Zealot bomb, Templar bomb too. Hope he doesn't have Storm just yet, but it doesn't matter because there's only 3 tanks remaining, 2 tanks remaining versus just 15 goons. So this is going to be Oyaji all killing every single Terran and Zerg player. He's done it all. Storm drop on all of the SCVs. Where is it, man?
Did he even research Storm? I think he forgot Storm, man.
He might have forgotten.
He actually forgot.
It's just worse than Archon.
Doesn't even matter. He doesn't need Storm. That's actually more stylistic. What a stupid map. GG. Damn. That Oyaji pulling out some magic out of the hat or whatever. I mean, that wasn't a Gornish GG, but it was as close to a Gornish GG as we'll ever get. And holy crap, man. Oya with the all kill today. Damn.
That's a lot of green on the screen. I just look at the list and it's just green all the way down. So Oyaji.
Well, wait. Technically, it's not an all kill because he didn't play the first one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he didn't win.
We've yet to see an all kill.
He didn't win. Okay, yes. He didn't beat every single. He didn't get 8 kills, but he got 7 out of the 8. True Touch, the only one to get a victory other than Oyaji. But then Oyaji took out True Touch twice, didn't he?
Yeah. No. Kare
took out.
That's the whole point. I can pay attention.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Kare took out True Touch. So it's actually the Zerg squad that didn't get a single win. Kare, the only hope for Terran to pull out a win versus True Touch, but it was all Oyaji today. And Monty Hall, what a map. I actually
But I like it, man. I don't know. I
there's
feel like
a lot of things you can do because you get Arbiter, and if Terran does an attack like Kare was doing, he's gonna have a lot of units. But I'm just waiting to see the best stasis I've ever seen in history because everything's so clumped up. And then if you go carriers, I'm just imagining, well, what if somebody fights on a corner and decides, I can't fight here anymore? And then just goes straight to the middle.
Yeah, but think about it. Like imagine Terran just gets that top side of the map, has like 4 bases, right? Like all clumped together. Technically, recall is good for going from side to side, but I mean, what are you gonna recall the main where it's all come together and it's four bases? That's so many resources for Terran to play with. Now, obviously, the big problem for Terran in that map, going into late game, is how do I play around the architecture of the map, where Protoss has either carriers flying from lane to lane, or it has like arbiters recalling all over the place. It's not quite clear how Terran gets compensation for that in the ultra late game, though. The reality is, if you like get set up on that 4 base economy and then choose one lane, probably top or bottom, because they have those extra bases to take as you push out. What if you just choose one of those lanes, then you push out and you're like committed? You have a bunch of, you're maxed out on Goliaths, maxed out on everything because you have infinite resources. But I mean, then Protoss probably plays some like really counterattack. It's not clear, man. I mean, obviously, it's not it's not a fun map.
What if Protoss recalls and builds 8 arbiters and stasises every lane so you can't get in? That'd be.
The map is kind of clowny, but I feel like there's chances. There's chances for Terran.
Well, regardless, this race war is. I didn't know what to think about this. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but now BSL has finally done it. And we've had really good series last week. This series went unexpected for me. I was not expecting to see Oyachi just wipe everybody off the map.
Yeah.
So nicely done from him. And that's going to be it for us today. Again, we want to thank the sponsors of BSL. It is Esports Fund, Liquipedia, Blizzard, of course, and of course, viewers like you, our Patreons. We've got Star Lover at $100 a month. I can't even read that one, man. Striker, Gruglog, QK. Andre, we got Andre, Striker, Gruglog at $50 a month. Comchalk, LML, Lingen Pump, Scott Wallfield, and Peter Steele at $20 a month. There's just so many Patreons. Stuff like this can only happen because of supporters like you. So thank you very much. And if you like BSL and are wondering how to support it, Patreon is a great way to do it. So definitely consider supporting BSL that way. And I think that's going to be it for us today. So, Gypsy, you got any final words for our race wars? It was super exciting, I thought.
Yeah, it was exciting, man. I kind of just want to not see a big list of green next time, or red. I mean, Terran players, rise up, take your place among the pantheon. I was surprised, man. Oyaji, I just hope we can get some more diversity, more back and forth, not just one race stomping. I guess last week we got one race stomping, then one race stomping, then kind of getting stopped. I'd like to see some more back and forth, but yeah, exciting stuff, man. And congrats to Oya for an amazing performance. And thanks everyone for tuning in. That's really all it is.
Yeah, it was really fun. And keep in mind that I think there is one more tournament we're going to have. It's going to be for the Chobo players, which means I think you're outside of the top 32 on the ladder. And that's going to happen September 10th. So make sure you play in that. Winner will get a copy of StarCraft Remastered. And then again, BSL10 is going to be ending pretty soon. So if you want to make it into Pro League, you need to get your games in. I think it's been up to, is it 40 games a month or 40 games to make it in? Or is it still 20?
I think it's 40.
I think it is 40. Yeah,
It's
40
40.
for Pro League. So if you think you got what it takes to take Pro League, you can't just make 2,500. You still got to get the 40 games in. So make sure you do that. I don't want to see a top tier player not make it because they sat on 39 games. Make sure you get those games in. And that's going to be it for us. BSL is going to be coming pretty soon. So that will be fun once that finally starts happening. I'm interested to see who's going to be the final 8. And remember, there's a final tournament for the last spot. I think the top 9 to 24. So if you win that, that's another way to get in. So with that said, that's going to be it for us today. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back on the 10th. Oh,
Yeah, and also one last thing, guys. Huge thanks for making computer do things for tech support. Okay, just yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.